Chapter 141. Didn't I tell you not to go near Su Junqing? Yi Jiuge frowned. Yi Yu was too disobedient. What if Su Junqing, that pervert, found out? I didn't go near him. It was the rats guarding the Su residence that told me. Yi Yu quickly explained. Recently, in order to help Yi Jiuge spread the message, he reorganized the dark forces in Shangjing. He didn't expect that those rats would regard him as their boss and take the initiative to help him spy on the Su residents. This news was sent back by those rats. So that's how it is. Yi Jiuge relaxed his expression and asked with some doubt, what woman went to find Su Junqing? Su Junqing had always been surrounded by thousands of flowers. He had never heard of a woman who dared to go to his door to find him. I heard that it was a very beautiful girl with a sweet smile. She was about 18 years old and her accent was like that of a foreigner. At that time, Su Junqing personally came out to greet her and seemed to be very respectful to her. Yi Yu couldn't help but pause before continuing. I received the news and rushed over. At the door, I smelled a cold bloody smell similar to Su Junqing's. It should be left behind by that woman. Yi Yu's cultivation had improved a lot during this period of time. He was also more sensitive to yin qi and bloody smell. Seems like that woman is also a heretic cultivator. Yi Jiuge thought of the empress who was repeatedly frustrated in the palace. Could she be the one who called them over? Should I go and investigate? Yi Yu asked tentatively. Yi Jiuge didn't allow him to go near the Su residence, so he didn't dare to act rashly. Yi Jiuge thought about it and shook his head. Recently, Shangjing has been searching for heretic cultivators. This woman appeared in the Su residence openly and left behind such a strong smell. It's really not normal. You mean there's a trap? Yi Yu immediately understood. It's very possible. Yi Jiuge nodded. The female heretic cultivator coming to Shangjing at this time was very likely to find Su Junqing to investigate Su Hansen's murder. Su Junqing took the opportunity to set a trap and used the female heretic cultivator to deal with them. Just when Yi Jiuge and Yi Yu were guessing Su Junqing's purpose, Su Junqing was respectfully welcoming Lu Yunfei into his study. Your place is not bad. Lu Yunfei looked at the elegant study in front of her and reached out to fiddle with the neatly arranged brushes. Senior sister, please excuse me. Su Junqing wore a golden crown on his head and a white robe. He was cultured, elegant, and had an extraordinary bearing. He did not look like a bloodthirsty sect disciple at all. Lu Yunfei played with the ends of her black hair as her watery gaze fell on Su Junqing. Her small pink tongue couldn't help but lightly lick her lips. Su Junqing felt like a frog being stared at by a poisonous snake, and a layer of cold sweat immediately appeared on his back. Although he rarely returned to the bloodthirsty sect, he had heard a little about this senior sister who liked to collect the skin of beautiful women. He knew that in addition to being bloodthirsty, she had also cultivated some evil arts of harvesting yang to nourish yin. A few of the good-looking men in bloodthirsty sect had mysteriously died. The rest of the male disciples had their faces covered in dirt, keeping a respectful distance from her. Even bloodthirsty ancestor, who loved beauties, did not dare to have any ideas about Lu Yunfei. Junior brother, why are you sweating so much? Lu Yunfei moved closer to Su Junqing and placed her soft little hand on his shoulder. Her voice was as sweet as honey. It's probably because the weather is hot. Senior sister, you must be tired after a long journey. Why don't you have a drink to relieve yourself first? Su Junqing turned around without batting an eyelid and took out a long glass cup from a secret compartment in the study. It was filled with dark red blood and emitted a strong smell of blood. Under the dim yellow candlelight, it shone with a strange light. The spirit blood of an earth spirit root virgin. Not bad. Lu Yunfei reclined on the chair and continued to stare at Su Junqing. She was obviously more interested in him. Senior sister, you really know what's good. Su Junqing personally poured a cup for Lu Yunfei and said with a smile, Junior brother doesn't have anything good here. Please do me the honor, senior sister. Junior brother is too polite. Lu Yunfei took a sip and said with a faint smile, you can't even get such good things from the patriarch. Senior sister, you must be joking. There are all kinds of beauties with spirit roots at the patriarch's place. If you want to drink it, it's ready-made. Only a poor person like me would keep a little bit of spirit blood. Su Junqing smiled faintly. This meant that the spirit blood was secretly obtained from a living person. This kind of behavior was not uncommon in the bloodthirsty sect. Women with spirit roots were treasures everywhere. It was not easy for the disciples of the bloodthirsty sect to find one. Usually, they would secretly give some blood to the patriarch. Hee, I heard that junior brother is very capable. That gold spirit root beauty from last time not only won the favor of the patriarch, but even I was moved when I saw her. I heard that the girl was obtained by junior brother's bewitching skill. When are you going to help senior sister get one? Lu Yunfei's eyes were like silk, and her blood-stained red lips were extremely seductive. She was as enchanting as the reincarnation of a demon. Su Junqing's mind wavered for a moment, but he quickly regained his senses and was immediately shocked. He did not expect Lu Yunfei's bewitching skill to be so powerful. If his cultivation had not increased during this period of time, he would have fallen for it. He did not dare to show that he was awake, so he continued to pretend to be confused and asked, May I know which beauty senior sister is talking about? The beauty with the red mole between her eyebrows. Lu Yunfei pinched Su Junqing's handsome face with her soft little hands and said coquettishly, You heartless person, you forgot so quickly. There was no other beauty with a red mole between her eyebrows but Yi Yunji. When Su Junqing thought of Yi Yunji, he could not keep the smile on his face. All these years, he had cheated and tricked many beauties with spirit roots for the patriarch. Yi Yunji was undoubtedly the most special one. What was special about her was not that her spirit root was powerful, nor was it that her beauty was unparalleled. Instead, it was that Yi Yunji became pregnant with his child after they consummated their marriage. The beautiful appearance of Yi Yunji when she was pregnant flashed through his mind, and he felt an inexplicable sourness in his heart. At that time, he really wanted to hide Yi Yunji and let her give birth to the child safely. He did not expect that she would abort the child after learning that the Yi family was destroyed. When Su Junqing thought of the bloody fetus, he could not help but clench his fists. He did not need a bitch who was out of control. Therefore, he did not hesitate to give Yi Yunji to the bloodthirsty patriarch. He had thought that she would die quickly like the other women. He did not expect that she was still alive. Lu Yunfei had been observing Su Junqing's expression. When she saw that his expression was ferocious and filled with hatred, which was no different from the bastards of the bloodthirsty sect, she immediately lost interest. Lu Yunfei's pretty face changed, and she said impatiently, This time, I came to investigate the cause of death of Nurse Su and Su Hansen. Tell me what happened. Chapter 142. Su Junqing did not understand why Lu Yunfei suddenly became hostile, but her cold face was much better than seducing him earlier, so he straightened his face and said, What Nurse Su and Su Hansen were killed by Yi Jioga, Wan Xiang, by Songling, and the others. Tell me, who are they? Lu Yunfei drank the spiritual blood with an indifferent look on her face. Su Junqing then explained the origins of Yi Jioga and the other two. Yi Jioga is Grandmaster Yun's granddaughter, Wan Xiang is a rising star in the Ministry of Justice, and Bai Songling is Prince Dongling's confidant. Are you afraid that others won't know about the existence of us evil cultivators? Lu Yunfei's eyes instantly turned dangerous. Although she was arrogant, she was not brainless. Evil cultivators' cultivation methods were cruel and had always been a thorn in the side of the righteous spiritualists. Otherwise, the bloodthirsty sect would not have hidden in the remote mountains. Now that Emperor Xian Wu was searching for evil cultivators everywhere, if she made such a big case, wouldn't she be giving it to the righteous spiritualists? Senior sister, please calm down. Listen to me for a moment. Su Junqing carefully explained his plan to her. After listening, Lu Yunfei could not help but look at Su Junqing and smiled. I really underestimated junior brother. Junior brother is really talented to think of such an idea. Senior sister, you flatter me. I'm also doing this for the good of the bloodthirsty sect. As long as we get rid of all these people, I can guarantee that Emperor Xian Wu will not dare to mention evil cultivators again. Su Junqing said confidently. He had spent a lot of effort to think of this idea. It would definitely be able to get rid of those thorns. Okay, then we'll do as you say. Lu Yunfei nodded indifferently. Thank you for your support, senior sister. Su Junqing cupped his hands and said, Senior sister coming here today has probably attracted the attention of many people. There might be spies coming to investigate. Senior sister, please help me. What, a few spies are enough to stump you? Lu Yunfei played with the glass cup and drank another mouthful of spirit blood. Senior sister, please don't laugh at me. I'm not afraid of other spies, but there is one that is very difficult to deal with. Su Junqing sighed and said, that spy is called Yi Yu and has already cultivated into a shadow assassin. He comes and goes without a trace and is truly difficult to deal with. Interesting, I like this kind of excitement. Lu Yunfei licked the blood on the corner of her mouth, like a cat that smelled blood. With senior sister's help, that scout will definitely die. Su Junqing had a smile on his face, but his eyes were sizing up Lu Yunfei without a trace. He noticed that the red pupils in her eyes were gradually forming, which meant that she had cultivated the bloodthirst art to the 3rd level. If he could absorb her, his cultivation would definitely jump to the spirit master level. At that time, the power of the bewitching art would be even greater. Su Junqing's heart was burning, but he quickly put it away. If he was discovered by Lu Yunfei, he would probably be the first one to be devoured. This kind of woman was too dangerous. It was better to send her away as soon as possible. Su Junqing and Lu Yunfei appeared to be in harmony, but were actually at odds. Yi Jioga and Yi Yu also had different opinions. Big Missy, the trap is just your guess. There must be an unusual purpose for a demonic practitioner to enter the capital under such circumstances. I still feel that we need to go and investigate. Yi Yu had an inexplicable intuition that the female demonic practitioner definitely knew about his sister, so he had to go. Seeing Yi Yu's determined face, Yi Jioga knew that he could not stop him, so he said, all right, for safety's sake, let's prepare first and go check tomorrow night. I'm afraid it will be late tomorrow. Yi Yu wanted to go now. If I say tomorrow night, then tomorrow night. If you don't listen to me, don't come and ask me for anything in the future. Yi Jioga's face darkened. At this time, Zi Shang's lazy voice sounded in Yi Jioga's ears. If you had listened to me and imprinted a slave contract on him, he definitely would not have dared to act recklessly. I have no interest in being a slave leader. Yi Jioga did not want to conquer the continent, so why would he need a slave? Everyone took what they needed and parted on good terms. Zi Shang was very dissatisfied with Yi Jioga's lack of fighting spirit, but he did not say anything more. Seeing Yi Jioga's expression constantly changing, Yi Yu thought that she was really angry, so he hurriedly said, I'll listen to you. It's getting late, you go back first, and come find me tomorrow night. Yi Jioga pinched the bridge of her nose. In order to recover the white bone flame, she had been running around for a whole day and was exhausted. Sorry to disturb you, then you should rest well. Seeing the tired look on Yi Jioga's face, Yi Yu suddenly felt a little guilty. Yi Jioga half squinted her eyes, waved her hand, and like a wandering spirit, she returned to the house and fell asleep. The next day, She went out for a stroll, inquired about some news, and made some arrangements before returning to Purple Forest Park. After she changed into her night clothes, she saw that it was still early, so she went to the alchemy room to continue refining the third stage clear heart pill. Night quietly fell, there were no stars and no moon, and the cold wind blew the leaves, making rustling sounds. Yijioga refined another 2 bottles of third stage clear heart pill, and when she walked out of the room, it was exactly midnight. Yi Yu was already waiting in the courtyard, and said, "Eldest Miss, the spy I placed in the Su residence reported that after that woman entered the Su residence, she was arranged by Su Junqing to stay in his study, and no one was allowed to enter or leave. Looks like Su Junqing is really afraid that we won't go find her." Yijioga smiled. Arranging a woman of unknown origin to stay in such a strange place like the study, as long as one was interested in the Su residence, they would not be able to resist investigating. "Eldest Miss, why don't I go to the Su residence myself?" Yi Yu was not afraid of traps, but he was afraid of dragging Yijioga down. "Don't be silly, take this, before entering the Su residence, it can resist Su Junqing's bewitching spell." Yijioga threw the newly refined clear heart pill to Yi Yu. "Many thanks." Yi Yu took the pill, and once again rejoiced that he followed a pill master, so he did not have to worry about pills. Yijioga put on her mask, and quietly went to the Su residence with Yi Yu. Compared to the previous time when it was brightly lit, the current Su residence was much dimmer. Su Junqing's study is next to the main courtyard. Yi Yu stood in the shadows, and pointed to the brightly lit small courtyard in the middle. Yijioga glanced at the main courtyard, and then looked at Old Master Su's small building, and asked, "How is Old Master Su now? How else can he be? His descendants are filial, greet him in the morning and evening, and he is surrounded by servants. What a blessing!" Yi Yu sneered. He hated everyone in the Su family, including Old Master Su. "Knowing that he is not doing well, then I am relieved." Yijioga smiled. Until now, the spirit doctors in Shangjing had not discovered that Old Master Su's coma was caused by a demonic technique, so there was no cure. Yi Yu deeply agreed with Yijioga's words, and softly asked, "Eldest Miss, do we go now?" "No rush, wait a little longer." Yijioga shook her head. Now was not the time to go in. Chapter 143. Yi Yu was a little confused. When he was about to ask Yijioga what was going on, he heard neat footsteps coming from the quiet street. He looked up and saw a group of soldiers, led by Wan Xiang and by Songling. As soon as they arrived at the Su family, they smashed the door and shouted, "Open the door, open the door. Sir, it's so late. What's the matter?" The servant of the Su family asked in fear. "Get out of the way." Wan Xiang pushed the servant away and rushed in with his soldiers. Su Junqing stopped Wan Xiang with his guards and said gloomily, "You two are so powerful. What do you want to do by breaking into our Su family in the middle of the night? Someone reported that your Su family is harboring a heretic. Please cooperate with the investigation." Wan Xiang's eyes were cold and his attitude was tough. "You want to search our Su family with just one sentence? What does Lord Wan think of us?" Su Junqing said with anger. The guards behind him immediately pulled out their swords and stood in a row behind him. "What do you mean by this? The Emperor asked us to investigate the heretic. Do you want to defy the law?" Bai Songling began to make a big deal. "What do you mean by investigating the heretic? I think you want to avenge yourself." Su Junqing didn't give in. The situation immediately fell into a stalemate. "What are you waiting for? Go down." Yijioga elbowed Yi Yu, who was in a daze. "This is your arrangement?" Yi Yu looked at Yijioga in surprise. He didn't expect that she would call Wan Xiang. "Of course, ordinary people like us have to report to the government immediately when we find a dangerous person. Yi Jioga smiled proudly. Okay, go down. I'll wait here. If there's anything, just send the signal. Yi Yu didn't say anything more. He took advantage of the chaos and sneaked into the main courtyard silently. He pried open the window of the study and landed on the ground. Suddenly, he felt like stepping on mud. Yi Yu looked down and found that there was a layer of light red sand in the shadow of the floor of the study. He was about to leave when a sweet voice sounded in the study. What are you looking for, little brother? Do you need my help? Then, a fair and soft little hand reached into the shadows and tore off Yi Yu's mask with incomparable precision. Yi Yu raised his head and saw a girl in a pink dress standing in front of him. Aya, what a beautiful little brother. The young girl looked at Yi Yu with a hint of amazement in her eyes. Who are you? Yi Yu looked at the beautiful girl with vigilance. I'm Lu Yunfei, the third disciple of Bloodthirsty's forefather. You can call me Xiaofan. Lu Yunfei twirled her hair with her fingers and smiled brightly. Bloodthirsty ancestor had many disciples, but he only had 3 direct disciples. Lu Yunfei was his last disciple. When Yi Yu heard the 3 words, Bloodthirsty sect, his heart skipped a beat. He calmly asked, why are you here? Are you also here to ask Su Junqing for human blood to cultivate? Hehe, those who cultivate with human blood are all outer disciples, I don't need it. Lu Yunfei's big watery eyes looked ambiguously at Yi Yu's tall and straight body, revealing the unique desire of an adult woman. Her expression was pure and evil, innocent and lascivious. All kinds of complicated auras blended together to form a strange charm that could make men fall head over heels for her. Yi Yu felt a strange fragrance float past his nose, causing him to involuntarily take a step toward Lu Yunfei. But soon, an ice-cold bitterness rushed from his stomach to his brain. Yi Yu immediately woke up and retreated into the shadows again. He cautiously asked, since you don't need human blood to cultivate, why are you in cahoots with Su Junqing? Don't you know he's a liar? What do you mean? Have you been tricked by him? Lu Yunfei blinked and asked curiously. I haven't been tricked by him, but he tricked a man from Bloodthirsty sect called Su Hansen into a secret room and killed him to extract his blood. Yi Yu's mouth twitched and revealed a disdainful smile. He looked as if Bloodthirsty sect was full of idiots. What did you say? Su Hansen was killed by Su Junqing? Lu Yunfei's expression froze. She didn't expect to hear such news from Yi Yu. That's right, it was in the secret room of the house that caught fire on the west side. I hid in Su Junqing's shadow and saw it with my own eyes, Yi Yu said with certainty. Lu Yunfei's eyes narrowed and she inwardly judged the truth of Yi Yu's words. Logically, she shouldn't believe the enemy's words. But emotionally, it was very likely that Su Junqing would do such a thing. After all, Bloodthirsty sect believed in the law of the jungle. If she saw a heavily injured Bloodthirsty sect disciple in front of her, she would immediately kill him. The first thing she did was to kill Xian Gong, not to heal him. Yi Yu saw Lu Yunfei's strange expression and didn't know if she believed his words. Seeing that there wasn't much time left, he couldn't help but say, I can help you deal with Su Junqing, but you have to help me with something. Help you with what? Lu Yunfei didn't need Yi Yu to deal with Su Junqing. She just wanted to tease him. Yi Yu hesitated. He wanted Lu Yunfei to help him find his sister. But if the people of Bloodthirsty sect knew how much he cared about his sister, he was afraid that his sister would be taken hostage. But on the other hand, the more value his sister had, the more chance of survival he would have. So Yi Yu made up his mind and said, I want you to help me find a woman that Su Junqing gave away. She looks very similar to me and also has a red mole between her eyebrows. Yi Yunji looked very similar to Yi Yu and also had a red mole between her eyebrows. But compared to Yi Yunji, who was soft on the outside but hard on the inside, Yi Yu was colder, more beautiful, and more charming. Who is she to you? Actually, Lu Yunfei felt that Yi Yu looked familiar at first glance. Hearing him say this, she immediately thought of the beloved pet of the bloodthirsty sect's ancestor, the cat-like beauty that she received as a mission reward. "She is my only family," Yi Yu said without hesitation. "Aren't you afraid that I'll send this news back to bloodthirsty sect?" Lu Yunfei didn't know if Yi Yu was naive or stupid to directly tell others his weakness. "I am." Yi Yu's beautiful face reflected a deep shadow under the flickering candlelight, carrying endless bitterness. "But I'm more afraid that she's dead." Lu Yunfei's pupils involuntarily shrank. An indescribable feeling welled up in her heart. She grew up in bloodthirsty sect and learned to drink blood before she learned to drink milk. Every day, she thought about how to steal cultivation resources, how to kill, and how to not be killed. The people around her were the same scum and scum. This was the first time she saw a fool like Yi Yu who valued family. This kind of fool was really hateful. Chapter 144. Lu Yunfei's nails pierced into her palm, but her face revealed an incomparably sweet smile as she said, "All right, you help me deal with Su Junqing, and I'll help you find my sister. How are we going to contact each other?" "I'll come find you." Although Yi Yu made a deal with Lu Yunfei, he did not trust her. "But I won't be staying here for long." Lu Yunfei pouted. "Where are you going?" Yi Yu asked. "I'm going to the medicine refining valley. In 10 days, there will be an alchemy competition there. I'll see you then." Lu Yunfei smiled as if she was meeting her lover. Medicine refining valley, alchemy competition? Why are you going there? Yi Yu immediately asked. "Hee, you'll know when the time comes. But the next time we meet, you'll be mine." Lu Yunfei's figure gradually disappeared in the air, leaving behind only a hint and a declaration in the empty study. Yi Yu furrowed his brows and carefully searched the study. Other than a few bottles of human blood in a secret compartment, there was nothing else. Lu Yunfei was also nowhere to be found. At this time, the quarrel outside was getting more and more intense. Yi Yu was worried that Wan Xiang could not withstand the pressure from Su Junqing, so he could only leave unwillingly. Yi Jiuge had been paying close attention to the movements in the study. When he saw Yi Yu come out, he blew the signal that he had agreed with Wan Xiang. Wan Xiang received the signal to retreat, so he coldly said to Su Junqing, "Since young Master Su refuses to accept our investigation, we can only report this matter to the Emperor." After saying that, he waved his hand and said, "Retreat. Young Master Su, think about how to explain this to the Emperor." Bai Songling pretentiously flicked his sleeves and swaggered away with Wan Xiang. Su Junqing's eyes were filled with endless hatred as he watched them leave. If grandfather was still here, these guys would definitely not dare to be so arrogant. Su Junqing couldn't help but take a deep breath when he thought of his grandfather who was still in a coma. After completing the task given to him by the ancestor, he would ask the ancestor for a favor and ask him to send someone to see what was going on with grandfather. However, this was all in the future. Right now, he had to deal with Lu Yunfei first. Su Junqing calmed himself down and returned to the study. Lu Yunfei was currently reclining on a chair by the window. The moonlight cast a faint layer of light on her bewitching face. She held a glass cup filled with bright red blood in her fair and tender hand. She would take a sip from it from time to time, looking very satisfied. "Senior sister, I'm really sorry to have disturbed you. However, as you can see, junior brother's current situation is really difficult. Please help me out, senior sister." Su Junqing looked at Lu Yunfei with deep affection. He could not wait for her to immediately take down Wan Xiang and the others. "I just heard something very interesting." Lu Yunfei stared at the spiritual blood in the glass cup and said indifferently, "I heard that junior apprentice brother Su Hansen wasn't killed by anyone, but was eaten by you to cultivate. Is this true?" Absolutely not, no matter how bold I am, I wouldn't dare to do such a thing. Su Junqing was shocked in his heart and repeatedly cried out his grievances. At that time, he was worried that the increase in his cultivation would arouse suspicion. Thus, he devoured Su Hansen to cultivate the bewitching art. As long as he did not use the bewitching art, no one would notice anything strange. I don't care how Su Hansen died. However, if someone wants to use me as a chess piece, then they have to see if they have the ability to do so. Lu Yunfei swung her hand and the spiritual blood in the glass splashed onto Su Junqing's face. The wet and sticky blood covered his face, but he did not dare to move. Little fellow, you're still too inexperienced to fight with me. Lu Yunfei gracefully walked in front of Su Junqing and used the glass cup to pat his face. She sneered, "Tomorrow, I will set off for the Medicinal Refinement Valley. If there is any mistake in the task given by the old ancestor, you can bring your head to see me." Yes. Su Junqing bowed deeply and looked at Lu Yunfei's pink dress as it flashed past his eyes. Deep in his eyes, there was an unconcealable hatred. Outside the Su residence, after Yi Jioga and Yi Yu met up, they secretly went to Wan Xiang and Bai Songling's residence. Bai Songling and the rest were already waiting inside. The moment they saw Yi Yu, they asked impatiently, "Yi Yu, you've been in there for so long. Did you find anything?" "I saw that female heretic cultivator called Lu Yunfei." Yi Yu told them about his conversation with Lu Yunfei. However, he did not mention anything about his sister and only said that Lu Yunfei would meet him at the Medicinal Refinement Valley. Looks like their target this time is the alchemy competition. Brother Wan, I think you should find someone to inspect the Medicinal Refinement Valley, especially the places that the Crown Prince set up. When Yi Jioga first heard that the Crown Prince was in charge of the alchemy competition, he felt that something was amiss. This alchemy competition is an annual event in the Thunder Country. Other than the people of the Thunder Country, there are alchemists from other countries participating. Isn't the Crown Prince afraid of being beaten to death by the Emperor for causing trouble in the Medicinal Refinement Valley? Bai Songling felt that the Crown Prince was not that stupid. It's always good to be careful. Yi Jioga still had to bring Yi Rui to participate in the competition. He did not want to make any mistakes. "Alright, I'll go check tomorrow." Wan Xiang nodded and looked at Yi Yu. "Do you want to come with me?" He had never seen that female heretic cultivator. If Yi Yu followed him, he would not be blinded. Yi Yu was about to agree when he felt a sharp pain on his back. It was as if something was gnawing at his skin. "Don't move." Yi Jioga moved like lightning and pressed down on the thing that was moving around on Yi Yu's back. The thing was about the thickness of an index finger and it was struggling violently. Wan Xiang tore Yi Yu's clothes and found that it was a pitch-black poison earth dragon. It was constantly struggling under Yi Jioga. "Isn't this little mute's poison earth dragon? Why is it here?" Bai Songling looked at the black worm in disgust. This poison earth dragon looked extremely ferocious and sinister. It had no eyes on its head, only a large mouth filled with fine white teeth. There were also 2 thin wings on its back. As long as Yi Jioga let go, it would immediately disappear without a trace. Whose little mute? Wan Xiang immediately frowned. He had been going out early and returning late recently. He had been investigating the heretic cultivator in the Ministry of Justice. He did not know that there was a little mute living in the backyard. Its young mistress who hired him to help raise the worm. Bai Songling explained Little Mute's background in detail. Can this person be trusted? Wan Xiang looked at the poison earth dragon that was constantly struggling in Yi Jioga's hands. This thing suddenly attacked Yi Yu while they were having a secret discussion. No matter how he looked at it, it was not normal. If you don't trust him, then let's ask him face to face. Yi Jioga did not believe that Little Mute was a spy. Chapter 145. Yi Jiuge jumped over the wall and entered Little Mute's courtyard. Yi Yu, Wan Xiang and Bai Songling followed behind her. Little Mute, come out. Yi Jiuge pinched the worm with his left hand and knocked on Little Mute's door with his right. The wooden door opened silently. Little Mute's skinny body was hidden behind the door. Only half of his snow-white face could be seen. Two big black eyes looked at everyone expressionlessly. In the deep night, it looked especially terrifying. Yi Jiuge and Bai Songling were already used to Little Mute's weird look. This was the first time Wan Xiang and Yi Yu saw it, so they couldn't help but stare at Little Mute vigilantly. Little Mute didn't even look at Wan Xiang and Yi Yu, the two outsiders. He extended his skinny little claw towards Yi Jiuge and then raised a thin index finger, indicating that he wanted to exchange this poison earth dragon for a bottle of spirit beast pills. I'm not here to exchange, Yi Jiuge pointed at Yi Yu and asked, why did this thing suddenly appear on my friend's body? Little Mute's big black eyes swept across Yi Yu's body. Then, he made a eating gesture. No one else understood, but Yi Jiuge instantly understood Little Mute's meaning. You mean, this worm is eating something on my friend's body? Little Mute nodded expressionlessly. What can be eaten on my body? Yi Yu couldn't help but scratch his back. Turn around and let me take a look. Yi Jiuge asked Yi Yu to turn around. Then, he opened his spiritual eye and looked carefully. In the end, he found a few thin red lines on the depression of his shoulder blade. If one didn't look carefully, they wouldn't be able to see it. Looks like that Lu Yunfei left something on your body. Yi Jiuge took out his thunder fire needle and picked out the red line on Yi Yu's back. That red line was actually a living creature. After leaving Yi Yu's body, it wanted to escape. However, it was forcefully sucked into the poison earth dragon in Yi Jiuge's hand. What is this thing? Bai Songling looked at the poison earth dragon and then at Yi Yu's back. She had goosebumps all over her body. This is a small poisonous worm used for tracking. When it's not activated, it hides very well. Once it is activated, it can find you from thousands of miles away. Yi Jiuge looked at Yi Yu and asked, didn't you feel it when she poisoned you? No. Yi Yu shook his head. At that time, he was only concerned with getting information out of Lu Yunfei and completely did not notice that Lu Yunfei had done something. Don't let your guard down just because she's a woman. Wan Xiang said lightly. Just now, when Yi Yu was talking about that female heretic cultivator, his tone was very protective. It seemed that she was not an ordinary person. He thought that Yi Yu had been bewitched and was about to ask Yi Jiuge for help. I was careless. Yi Yu could not help but lower his head. Just now, Lu Yunfei was all smiles, and he felt that she was a rare good person. Indeed, he had let his guard down a little. That Lu Yunfei's cultivation level is higher than yours, so it's normal that you didn't notice. Honestly speaking, when you came out just now, I also helped you to take a look, but I didn't notice anything strange. Yi Jiuge's spiritual eye wasn't omnipotent. She began to think about whether it would be better to let them take a few poison detection pills when they went on missions in the future. Don't worry, you won't be able to find out. Don't we still have this little guy? Bai Songling looked at the poison earthworm in Yi Jiuge's hand with fiery eyes, as if he was looking at a peerless treasure. You're right. Yi Jiuge nodded. There were specializations in every field, and this kind of strange poison had to be dealt with by a professional poison earthworm. Little Mute, how many more of these poison earthworms do you have? We'll take them all. Yi Jiuge said in a rich and overbearing manner. Little Mute directly extended a slap towards Yi Jiuge. 5 bottles of spirit beast pills, didn't you just say 1 bottle for 1 dragon? Yi Jiuge widened his eyes. This Little Mute's asking price was getting more and more ruthless. Little Mute expressionlessly made a few hand gestures. Bai Songling looked at the side anxiously, and could not help but ask Yi Jiuge, what is this Little Mute saying? He said that there is only one condition, and that it's a rare commodity, take it or leave it. Yi Jiuge only had 2 words in his heart. Originally, he thought that this little mute was an honest child, but he did not expect that he would actually raise the price. A bottle of spirit beast pills costs 500 silvers in the market, so 5 bottles for 2,500 silvers is not expensive. Wan Xiang actually nodded his head at the side. In his heart, anything that could be used to deal with heretic cultivators was priceless. Little Mute rarely shifted his gaze to Wan Xiang's face, and his black eyes revealed a rare trace of expression. Knowledgeable. Knowledgeable my ass. Yi Jiuge really wanted to kick this scammer Wan Xiang out. Those spirit beast pills that cost 500 silvers per bottle on the market were all fake goods, how could they compare to the spirit beast pills she refined? Moreover, Little Mute originally only wanted 1 bottle, but now it had risen to 5 in the blink of an eye. If he grew his appetite, it would be very difficult to deal with him in the future. Whoever wants it can exchange with him yourself. Yi Jiuge threw the poison earth dragon back into Little Mute's hands, and decided not to tolerate this bad habit of his. Give it to Yi Yu. Wan Xiang did not know that Yi Jiuge was being sarcastic, and decided to give it to Yi Yu. After all, that worm just ran to Yi Yu's body, and it could be considered as another form of recognition. Yi Yu looked at Yi Jiuge inquiringly. If you want it, then take it. Anyway, without her, no one would be able to get it. Then I won't stand on ceremony. Yi Yu really wanted it. In the future, he still had to go to the bloodthirsty sect to save his sister, and this worm would undoubtedly be a good helper. Little Mute, since he has already decided to buy it, why don't you give this worm to him first? Bai Songling felt that since everyone was so familiar with each other, it would not be a problem to take the goods first. In the past, Yi Jiuge often did this. Unexpectedly, Little Mute shook his head without hesitation. He only trusted Yi Jiuge, and if others wanted to take the goods, they had to hand over the money. Then I will go buy spirit beast pills tomorrow morning to exchange. Although Yi Yu also wanted to take the worm immediately, he still respected Little Mute's opinion. Brother, if I encounter any problems in the future, you have to lend it to me. Bai Songling hugged Yi Yu's shoulder and said. Right now, he and Wan Xiang were catching heretic practitioners every day, so there might be a time when he would need Yi Yu's help. Sure. Yi Yu was still very generous to his own people. Yi Jiuge chuckled as she looked at the people who were thinking too much, then turned around and went back to the Yi mansion to sleep. She slept all the way until noon. When she woke up to eat, she could not avoid being nagged by Mother Qing about her irregular work and rest schedule. Yi Jiuge responded with a few words, then used the excuse of refining pills to hide in the pill refining room. Before she entered the door, she saw Yi Yu's face peeking out from the shadow of the window. Why are you here? Yi Jiuge opened the window and welcomed him in. Eldest miss, that Little Mute is suddenly unwilling to exchange again. Yi Yu looked at Yi Jiuge helplessly. Last night, they had clearly agreed on 5 bottles of spirit beast pills, but after that Little Mute smelled those spirit beast pills, he refused to exchange. They could not understand Little Mute's hand gestures, so they could only ask Yi Jiuge for help. Chapter 146. Yi Jiuge had already expected this situation. She took a bottle of spirit beast Dawn and went to Little Mute's residence with Yi Yu. At this time, Bai Songling was trying to communicate with Little Mute. I say, how can you go back on your words? We agreed to exchange 5 bottles of spirit beast Dawn for insects. Even if you want to raise the price, you should at least give me a number first. Little Mute didn't even look at him. He picked up the basket filled with black fly grass and began to feed the poisonous earth dragons. This batch of poisonous earth dragons had already advanced once. The originally white and plump body now had a bit of jade-like luster. Its lifespan had also increased from 15 days to 2 months. He kept the best batch of insects to breed and cultivate the next generation. The rest were used to raise goo. The winged goo that ran out to hunt in the wild last night was raised just now. Bai Songling talked until his saliva was dry. Little Mute didn't even respond. He was so angry that his brain was heating up. He grabbed Little Mute's basket and shouted, "I'm talking to you." Little Mute looked up at Bai Songling. His wooden face didn't have any expression, but it inexplicably made people feel afraid. Yi Jioga happened to come in at this time. Seeing this situation, she immediately raised her eyebrows. "Brother Xiao Bai, what do you mean by this? Are you trying to bully people?" "I don't dare to bully him. He's bullying me." Bai Songling awkwardly handed the basket to Little Mute. Little Mute took the basket and looked at Yi Jioga. "I heard you don't want to exchange with them?" Yi Jioga asked. Little Mute fanned his nose with his hand and gave a thumbs down to Bai Songling. "What do you mean?" Bai Songling was so angry that he stomped his feet. "He means that the spirit beast dawn you brought are fake." Yi Jioga translated. "Bullshit. This is refined by our 100 Herb Hall's level 3 pill refiner. How can it be fake?" Bai Songling angrily said. Selling fake pills was the most vicious slander to a pharmacy. No one could stand it. Little Mute didn't say anything. His eyes naturally revealed a look of disdain. "Actually, Brother Xiao Bai isn't wrong. The pills he gave you are the best pills on the market. It's just that the pills you ate in the past were personally refined by me, so they aren't sold on the market." Yi Jioga returned the gesture that Little Mute gave her last night. A bottle of spirit beast pills for a worm. Elder sister's medicinal pills are a rare commodity, it's up to you whether you want them or not. Little Mute furrowed his brows and his little face became a little conflicted. In fact, he also knew that what Yi Jioga said was true. The spirit beast pills that Bai Songling and the others brought were not bad, at least they were better than the ones he had secretly obtained before. After using the medicine personally refined by Yi Jioga, he didn't care about the others. Little Mute was straightforward and agreed right away. Yi Jioga did not make things difficult for him. He took out the spirit beast pills he had prepared and successfully exchanged them for that super worm goo. "How do I control this thing?" Yi Jioga asked. Little Mute's eyes lit up, and he stretched out his hand to ask for the spirit pill again. "Little friend, I'd advise you to be a bit more honest. You're still too inexperienced when it comes to raising prices." Yi Jioga smiled warmly. If Little Mute really wanted to play tricks on her, she wouldn't mind doing the same to him in the future. Little Mute wisely retracted his hand and pinched the goo worm. It was unknown how he communicated with that worm goo. That sinister poison earth dragon goo let out a squeak and flapped its wings to fly to Yi Yu's hand. It bit his middle finger and then lay there motionlessly. It recognized me as its master. Yi Yu raised his head in shock. After the little thing drank his blood, he felt that he had established a faint connection with it. "Little Mute, will this thing of yours have any backlash when it recognizes you as its master?" Bai Songling was a bit worried and felt that this thing was a bit strange. Little Mute gave Bai Songling a disdainful look and continued to feed the poison earth dragon with the little basket. "Zishang, will the thing he raised have any backlash?" Yi Jioga decided to ask his sugar daddy Zishang. After all, this Little Mute was personally appointed by him. "You're thinking too much. It doesn't have the ability to control these little worms right now." Zishang lazily replied. "Doesn't have it now? Does that mean it will have it in the future?" Yi Jioga asked vigilantly. The poison testing pills that noble consort Shi and Dongfang Ke were eating were all made from the poison earth dragons that Little Mute raised. If he could control these poison earth dragons, then wouldn't he be inviting a wolf into the house? It will probably be after eating this bottle of spirit beast pills you gave me." Zishang replied seriously. Then can the thing he raised still be used? Yi Jioga suddenly wanted to take back the bottle of spirit beast pills. He can control those worms. Can't you control him? Zi Shang's voice was a bit malicious. He deliberately brought this little guy over because he wanted to see if Yi Jioga would still say that he didn't want to be a slave leader after this little thing lost control. What is this little mute's background? Yi Jioga asked. You don't need to care about his background. You just need to know how to control him. Zi Shang directly gave Yi Jioga a ball of light. After Yi Jioga absorbed the ball of light, his gaze landed on the little mute who was playing with the poison earth dragon. She saw that he was wearing a blue cloth, the sleeves of his clothes were dirty, and his hair was tied up messily. He didn't touch any of the new clothes that Bai Songling gave him. It was as if he had grown fond of his dusty appearance, including the name Little Mute. Originally, Yi Jioga felt that calling him Little Mute was a bit insulting. He wanted to change the name but was rejected by Little Mute. It seemed like he had to investigate Little Mute's background when he had the chance to see what his real body was. However, the most important thing now was the evil cultivator and the alchemy competition. Where is Brother Wan? Yi Jioga asked Yi Yu. He is still in the Ministry of Justice and is preparing to bring people to the medicine refining valley. I will meet up with him later. Yi Yu replied. If he wasn't delayed by Little Mute's matter, he was also preparing to leave now. Take these 2 bottles of pills and give one to Brother Wan. Be careful and don't fall for the poisonous beauty's bewitchment. Yi Jioga took out 2 bottles of level 3 clear heart pills. Yi Yu suddenly felt a bit ashamed. Lu Yunfei's bewitchment was indeed powerful. Otherwise, he wouldn't have such a good impression of her. He had to be more vigilant next time. The participants of the competition have already left for the medicine refining valley. When are you going to leave? Bai Songling asked Yi Jioga. The day after tomorrow. Yi Yuxuan had originally set the date for Yi Jioga to leave in 3 days, but she rejected it. Do you want to go with Prince Dongling? Bai Songling asked again. No need. Yi Jioga shook her head. Yi Shanshan had already left with the Crown Prince yesterday. It would be too conspicuous if she left with Prince Dongling. Alright, I will bring some secret guards to protect you. Bai Songling said. Whatever. Although Yi Jioga didn't think it was necessary, she couldn't refuse the kindness of others. Hee, if there is really someone who doesn't have eyes, we can catch him for clues. Bai Songling smiled treacherously. Don't jinx it. Yi Jioga really wanted to kick Bai Songling. Was he protecting her or using her as a bait? Yi Jioga and Bai Songling talked casually. Neither of them noticed that Little Mute's eyes flashed when he heard the name of the medicine refining valley. Chapter 147. Yi Jioga returned to Purple Forest Park and began to prepare for the trip to Medicine Refinement Valley. Although the competition would only be held for 3 days, they had to stay for at least 7 days. The things that Mother Qing had prepared were enough to fill up a large carriage to ensure that their eldest miss could live comfortably outside. Yi Jioga looked at the large pile of things and couldn't help but sigh. It would be great if she had a storage bag. However, storage bags were too expensive and couldn't be bought in Thunder Country. She had to go to Great Spiritual City. It was said that one needed spirit coins to buy a storage bag and gold was useless. With her current cultivation, she didn't even need to think about it. Other than daily necessities, Yi Jioga also packed the small bronze cauldron and the fat black rat. Ever since the fat black rat returned from the deep pool, it had been sullen. It burrowed into Yi Jioga's pocket and continued to pretend to be depressed. Yi Jioga felt guilty and decided that he would make it up to the fat black rat in the future. On the day of departure, Yi Yuxuan personally came to send them off. Su Yufeng used the excuse that she wasn't feeling well and did not come out. Although Yi Yuxuan was unhappy with Yi Jioga, he treated Yi Rui well. For Yi Rui's sake, he sent 10 guards with a spirit practitioner surnamed Pan to escort them. Yi Jioga and the group set off in the morning and arrived at Medicine Refinement Valley at dusk. Medicine Refinement Valley was located on a flat ground between 2 small mountains. The imperial family had specially funded the construction of Medicine Refinement City and assigned people to manage it. Yi Jioga looked out the small window of the carriage. He saw a magnificent castle spanning between the mountain ridges. The gray city walls were 300 to 400 feet tall, and as far as the eye could see, there were many tall buildings. Big sister, why did the emperor build this castle here? Yi Rui asked curiously. I heard that behind Medicine Refinement Valley is a third-rank spiritual land filled with all kinds of precious spiritual herbs. That's why he built the castle here. Yi Jioga heard this from Bai Songling. Third-rank spiritual lands were extremely rare in Thunder Country and the imperial family naturally treasured them. Medicine Refinement Valley was rarely open to the public. Only during the alchemy competition would they welcome outsiders. Oh. Yi Rui nodded, not really understanding. The pills she could refine were all very low grade and did not understand how precious a spiritual land that could be guarded by a city was. Yi Jioga wanted to broaden Yi Rui's horizons, so he got off the carriage and held her hand as they walked into the Medicine Refinement Valley. Although it was already dusk, the city was still very lively. The streets were filled with shops selling medicinal ingredients, pill furnaces, and ores. There were also many outsiders who directly spread a piece of cloth on the ground and placed their goods on it. Dear customers, please don't miss this opportunity. The street stalls sold everything, including common spirit herbs, ores, and animal bones. There were even stalls selling stones and tree roots. The streets were crowded with people, many of whom were dressed strangely. It was obvious that they were from other countries. This was the first time Yi Rui had seen such a lively scene. She was so excited that her face turned red. She looked like she was itching to go shopping. Young miss, shall we go to the alchemy tower to settle down first? Team leader Pan asked respectfully. The participants of the alchemy competition were all staying in the alchemy tower prepared by the Dongfang family. There's no hurry. Yi Jioga also wanted to have a good stroll. She and Yi Rui shopped around a few shops and bought some ingredients for concocting pills before heading towards the medicine refining tower. When they passed by an old and shabby shop, Yi Jioga's heart suddenly moved and she couldn't help but stop. Go in. Zi Shang suddenly spoke. Is there a treasure inside? Yi Jioga was a little excited. She knew that this shop was strange. That's right. Moreover, it is a treasure that is very useful to this sovereign. If you don't move, then don't blame this sovereign for personally taking action. Zi Shang's voice carried a rare urgency. My king, please be more obedient. If Zi Shang really showed himself here, the entire alchemy city would probably go crazy. Big sister, what's wrong? Yi Rui lifted her head and asked in confusion. Come, let's go in and take a look. Yi Jioga pulled Yi Rui into the small shop. Because the shop was too small, team leader Pan and the guards couldn't enter and could only guard the entrance. The guard was a white-haired skinny old man with a face full of wrinkles. He wore a dirty gray robe and didn't even lift his eyelids when he saw the guests enter. He continued to nap on the stool. Which treasure are you talking about? Yi Jioga opened her spiritual eye and carefully inspected the shop from top to bottom. The things here were a mess. There wasn't even the slightest bit of spiritual energy. She didn't know which was the treasure. It's under your feet, the stone used to pad the shelf. Zi Shang transmitted. Yi Jioga lowered her head and saw that there was indeed a square gray brick under the shelf. There was a thick layer of dust on top of it. It was as if it had already become one with the shelf. If one didn't look carefully, they wouldn't be able to see it. You call this a treasure? Yi Jioga was speechless. She didn't expect Zishang to have a hobby of collecting bricks. This isn't an ordinary brick. You wouldn't understand even if I told you. Hurry up and buy it. Zishang's tone was unquestionable. Yi Jioga felt that it was a little difficult. If she bought a brick for no reason, it might arouse the suspicion of the shop owner. At that time, he might treat it as a treasure and raise the price. The most common method was to buy a few good things and ask the shop owner to buy the brick. However, this shop was really shabby. It seemed like there wasn't anything valuable here. Big sister, what is this? Yi Rui pulled out a box of light green beads from a messy pile of miscellaneous items in the corner. Yi Jioga glanced at it and said, "This is a wooden bead. It has a certain effect on wood spiritualists. However, the spirituality inside has already been completely lost." Is that so? I think it's pretty. Yi Rui held the wooden bead and looked like she couldn't bear to let it go. Yi Jioga suddenly had an idea. If she bought a brick, it would arouse suspicion. However, if it was a child like Yi Rui, it might not necessarily be the case. After all children have the right to be willful. Yi Jioga was just about to ask Yi Rui to buy a brick for him when he realized that his body suddenly couldn't move. Why go through so much trouble? Zishang was a little impatient. He directly controlled Yi Jioga's body and pulled out the brick from under the shelf. He threw it on the table and said coldly, "Name your price." The messy old man slowly opened his droopy eyelids. His muddy old eyes glanced at the gray brick. He stretched out his palm and said slowly, 5,000 taels of silver. Before Yi Jioga could say anything, Yi Rui's eyes widened in shock. What? You want 5,000 taels of silver for a broken brick? No. The old man shook his head and said unhurriedly, "It's not silver, it's gold." Yi Rui opened her mouth and looked at the old man in shock. She then turned to look at Yi Jioga with an expression that said, "You don't really want to buy it." Yi Jioga knew that this old man would ask for a sky-high price. However, she would be crazy to buy a brick with 5,000 taels of gold. Chapter 148. Zishang subconsciously wanted to kill this greedy old man but was stopped by Yi Jioga. "Don't do anything stupid." There were so many people watching her come in. If the shop owner suddenly died, wouldn't that be telling everyone that he had something to do with it? You humans are so troublesome. Zishang was annoyed. The demon race would snatch whatever they wanted. Only the hypocritical human race would go around in circles. "Give me back my body if you think it's troublesome." Yi Jioga roared in his mind. A problem that could have been easily solved was now complicated by him. No. Zishang decisively refused. Yi Jioga almost went crazy but his consciousness was suppressed by Zishang. He couldn't return to normal no matter what. Yi Rui didn't notice Yi Jioga's abnormality. She rolled her eyes at the old man and said angrily, "I think you've gone crazy thinking about money. Big sister, let's go." With that, she grabbed Yi Jioga's hand. Zishang didn't want to leave without getting the brick. He avoided Yi Rui's hand and stared straight at the old man. "Old man, you have to be honest. You're selling a brick for 5,000 gold taels. Aren't you afraid of choking to death? That's not something you need to worry about." The old man slowly replied. He was able to establish himself in Alchemy City because he was ruthless and quick at robbing money. Is that so? Yi Jioga squinted his eyes. A purple vertical line appeared in his black pupils, flashing with a demonic light. The old man felt dizzy from this light and inexplicably felt guilty. He suddenly realized that it was intolerable for him to cheat the customer like this. He quickly stood up and said in fear and trepidation, "I was wrong. I shouldn't have been greedy for money. It's just a brick. If you want it, take it. Then I won't be polite." Yi Jioga's red lips curled up and his eyes returned to normal. Yi Jioga finally regained control of his body. He cursed Zi Shang's tyranny while reaching for the brick. At this time, Yi Shanshan's voice came from outside. "Captain Pan, why are you here?" This subordinate greets second young Mississippi. Captain Pan respectfully bowed. This subordinate has been ordered to escort first young Miss and fourth young Miss to Alchemy Valley. Big sister, fourth sister, is it really you? Yi Shanshan, who was wearing a blue dress, walked into the shop. Behind her was a young girl in a gorgeous golden dress. This girl was about 18 or 19 years old. She had fair skin and a beautiful face. She had an arrogant attitude. She looked at Yi Jioga with an unfriendly expression and coldly snorted, "You're Shanshan's big sister? Who are you?" The corner of Yi Jioga's mouth twitched. Big sister Shanshan, this form of address really made him unhappy. "Big sister, this is the third daughter of the Gong family." Yi Shanshan introduced with a little pride. "So it's the third miss of the Gong family." Yi Jioga thought of Gong Xiaofan, who had helped her previously, and forced a smile at the third Mississippi. However, third Miss Gong snorted coldly and turned to Yi Shanshan. "Shanshan, is your elder sister very poor, so she can only come to this kind of shabby shop?" As he spoke, he glanced disdainfully at the small shop and Yi Jioga and Yi Rui. "You are the poor one." Yi Rui found that her beloved big sister was scolded, and immediately retorted back unhappily. "Fourth sister, don't be rude." Yi Shanshan reprimanded Yi Rui, and then apologetically said to the girl in the red dress, "Miss Gong, my fourth sister was born of a concubine. She has not had a good upbringing since she was young. Please don't bother with her." When Yi Rui heard this, her face was immediately filled with anger. Yi Jioga squeezed her little hand and said slowly, "Fourth sister, don't be angry. Your second sister was born of a second concubine, so it is inevitable that her upbringing is a little poor." This time, it was Yi Shanshan's turn to look ugly. "Yi Jioga, as the elder sister, how can you slander your own sister like this? You really have no upbringing." Third Miss Gong raised her thin eyebrows and said with a tone full of sarcasm, "What does it have to do with you if I teach my own sister a lesson? Or is it that the Gong family's upbringing to be a dog catching mice and meddling in other people's business?" Yi Jioga saw that third Miss Gong had clearly come to find trouble with him, so he did not stand on ceremony with her. "How dare you insult our Gong family?" Third Miss Gong was so angry that her pretty face turned red, as if she had received a great humiliation. "Wrong, I didn't insult your Gong family, I only insulted you." Yi Jioga's poisonous tongue could not be stopped by anyone. "Big sister, you're wrong. I think it is more suitable for third Miss Gong to humiliate herself," Yi Rui said seriously. "Little hussy, you dare to insult me? I will kill you." Third Miss Gong had never been humiliated like this in her life. She waved her hand and slapped Yi Rui's face. Yi Jioga raised his hand and grabbed third Miss Gong's hand. He said coldly, "I will let you off this time for the sake of Spirit Master Gong Xiaofan. If you dare to make a move again, don't blame me for being impolite. You want to use the Gong family to suppress me? You think too highly of yourself." Third Miss Gong's body suddenly emitted a pale green light. It turned into a sharp wind blade and attacked Yi Jioga's chest. Fortunately, Yi Jioga was already prepared. He lifted his leg and kicked third Miss Gong's abdomen. Third Miss Gong screamed and flew out. She lay on the ground in a sorry state. The wind blade did not hit Yi Jioga, but it cut the beam of the shop. The old roof immediately collapsed. Yi Jioga grabbed Yi Rui with one hand and the old man with the other. He finally rushed out of the house before it completely collapsed. "Big Miss, are you okay?" Hua Dai and Yu Dai immediately rushed over. Their faces were pale with fear. "I am fine." Yi Jioga shook his head. Big sister, you are too much. How can you treat third Miss Gong like this? Yi Shanshan fiercely scolded Yi Jioge. Then, she eagerly went to help third Miss Gong. Third Miss Gong stood up in a sorry state. She fiercely shook off Yi Shanshan's hand and said to Yi Jioge, how dare you treat me like this? Our Gong family will not let you off. If you have the ability, fight me one-on-one. Don't drag your Gong family into this. Yi Jioge was not afraid of third Miss Gong's threat. No matter how powerful she was in the Gong family, she could not be more respected than the first grandson, Gong Baiyu. As long as Yi Jioge grasped the method to cure Gong Baiyu's eye disease, the Gong family would probably force third Miss Gong to apologize. Third Miss Gong's eyes were red. Her hand flashed with green light and she was about to make a move. Third Miss Gong, you can't. Yi Shanshan hurriedly stopped her and anxiously advised, you can't use force in Alchemy City. Otherwise, you will be disqualified. Although Yi Shanshan wished that she was the only one participating in the alchemy competition, if she did not stop third Miss Gong, the Crown Prince would not let her off. Scram! Third Miss Gong fiercely glared at Yi Shanshan. Yi Shanshan's expression also turned ugly. Although she wanted to curry favor with the Gong family, being scolded by third Miss Gong time and time again made her very angry. She did not want to stop her. Just as third Miss Gong was about to make a move, a familiar voice suddenly sounded. Stop! Chapter 149. Yi Jioge looked up and saw an old acquaintance, the Crown Prince, Dongfang Jianming, hurrying over with a group of guards. Big brother Crown Prince, you came at the right time. Yi Shanshan's spirit was lifted, and she hurriedly complained, big sister bullied third Miss Gong and even destroyed her shop. Yi Jioge, do you think this is your Yi mansion? You actually dared to injure someone. The Crown Prince gloomily looked at the restored Yi Jioge. This beautiful face made him hate her even more than before. This isn't your Highness East Palace. Yi Jioge was calm and elegant. The Crown Prince immediately ordered his guards, you're twisting words and forcing logic. Men, arrest this troublemaker. Hua Dai and Yu Dai anxiously stood in front of Yi Jioge. Yi Jioge raised his brows, Your Highness, I'm here to participate in the alchemy competition. Don't you think you're being too arbitrary by arresting me without reason? The facts are clear and conclusive. There's no point in quibbling. The Crown Prince waved his hand, arrest Yi Jioge. If she dares to resist, then don't be polite with her. Big sister. Yi Rui tightly grabbed Yi Jioge's sleeve with a pale face. Don't be afraid. Although the Crown Prince is muddle-headed, there are still people in the city who understand. Yi Jioge calmly comforted her. Big sister, how dare you say that the Crown Prince is muddle-headed? When I return, I must report this to father and have him punish you. Yi Shanshan wanted to continue framing Yi Jioge, but she was frightened by Yi Jioge's cold eyes. Yi Shanshan, if I were you, I'd shut up or I won't have another chance in the future. Yi Jioge's tone was calm, but Shanshan knew that she wasn't joking. The fear of being beaten came back to her, and she could not help but hide behind the Crown Prince. The Crown Prince angrily said, Yi Jioge, you dare to bully the weak in front of me? It seems that you don't put the imperial family in your eyes. Yi Jioge sneered, if you're not representing the Gong clan, then you're representing the imperial family. Those who don't know would think that the Gong clan has no one left after the death of His Majesty. How dare you? Impudent. Third Miss Gong and the Crown Prince flew into a rage at the same time, wishing they could personally capture Yi Jioge. At this time, the sound of uniform footsteps could be heard from the distance. It turned out to be the patrolling soldiers of Alchemy City. The person in the lead was dressed in black and red robes. His handsome face seemed to have been carved by a knife, and his temperament was incomparably cold. It was Wan Xiang. Look, a reasonable person has come. Yi Jioga smiled. Lord Wan, Yi Jioga robbed and injured people. You can't be thinking of shielding her, right? The Crown Prince said coldly. Yes, Lord Wan, I can testify. Yi Shanshan said while hiding behind the Crown Prince. Wan Xiang coldly looked at the Crown Prince and Yi Shanshan, then turned to ask Yi Jioga, what is going on? Just now, when I accompanied my sister to shop, Miss Gong suddenly rushed in and spoke ill of me. She even destroyed someone else's shop. Before Yi Jioga could finish his words, third Miss Gong had already angrily denied it. I didn't do anything. It was clearly you who wanted to steal my things, so you destroyed someone else's shop. This shop was destroyed by the wind spirit root. Sir Wan, you can send someone to investigate. Yi Jioga said lightly. Investigate. Under Wan Xiang's command, the well-trained soldiers he brought with him began to search the ruins. Very quickly, they found a beam that was cut by the wind spirit root. The cut surface was still faintly green. A tall and skinny soldier came out and reported, Sir, this shop was indeed destroyed by the wind spirit root. I have the lightning spirit root. May I ask what third Miss Gong's spirit root is? Yi Jioga looked at the third Miss Gong with malicious intent. Some people wanted to distort the truth and push the blame onto themselves, but they didn't think that they were full of loopholes. So what if I have the wind spirit root? It's just a broken shop. I'll pay for it. What about the matter of you injuring me? Third Miss Gong's aura was still very arrogant. Before Yi Jioga could say anything, the surrounding people had already begun to discuss. This Gong clan is too overbearing. So what if they're from a big clan? That's right. They dare to be so arrogant in our alchemy city. Wouldn't they be overlords in their Baimu city? And that Yi Shanshan, she actually helped an outsider to deal with her own sister. She's really ruthless. The Crown Prince is also muddle-headed. He was blinded by beauty and actually dared to openly protect a criminal. If he was the host of the alchemy competition, then we wouldn't have to compete anymore, the surrounding people were discussing. Third Miss Gong's face turned red and white. She looked at Yi Jioga as if she wanted to tear him into pieces. Don't cause trouble in Alchemy City. Your Highness, you also don't want this matter to reach the Emperor's ears. Wan Xiang coldly looked at the Crown Prince. This was an alchemy competition. There was absolutely no room for mistakes. Even the Crown Prince didn't dare to act recklessly. The Crown Prince didn't dare to say anything else. He fiercely glared at Yi Jioga, then whispered a few words to Third Miss Gong. Third Miss Gong was obviously unconvinced. However, this was the Dongfang clan's territory. No matter how arrogant she was, she had to give the Crown Prince some face. Just you wait. Third Miss Gong threw down these harsh words and angrily left. Yi Shanshan hurriedly followed. Her fawning appearance was very disdainful. Shameless. Yi Rui disdainfully looked at Yi Shanshan's back as she left. She simply didn't want to admit that this person was her second sister. Say less. Yi Jioga patted Yi Rui's shoulder. Arguing with Yi Shanshan in front of outsiders would only make her a laughingstock. He would deal with her when they got back. Yi Rui bit her lips and didn't say anything. At this moment, the dizzy old man finally came back to his senses. Looking at the collapsed store, he immediately screamed. My store. Yi Jioga just remembered a very important question. Where was my brick? Big sister. Yi Rui pulled Yi Jioga's sleeve and touched the small embroidered backpack on her back. It was bulging and looked exactly like a brick. So smart. Yi Jioga rewarded her by rubbing her little head. Yi Rui smiled. This was 5,000 taels of gold. Of course, she had to keep it well. Captain Pan, stay here and help this old man count his things. Pay as much as he should, Yi Jioga instructed Captain Pan. Although this unexpected disaster was caused by third Miss Gong, Yi Jioga still felt that he should give the old man some compensation for the brick. Yes. Captain Pan nodded respectfully. As a guard, he had failed to stop third Miss Gong's attack on first Miss Gong. Now, he had to make up for his mistake. I will send you to the medicine refining building. Wan Ziang said to Yi Jioga. I won't delay your business, right? Yi Jioga looked at the soldiers behind Wan Ziang. No. Wan Ziang's status was equivalent to that of an imperial envoy. He could inspect everywhere. Then let's go. Yi Jioga and Wan Ziang walked in front. Yi Rui considerately followed behind Hua Dai and Yu Dai, giving Yi Jioga and Wan Ziang the opportunity to be alone. What is the background of that third Miss Gong? Seeing that no one was approaching, Yi Jioga asked Wan Ziang in a low voice. Chapter 150. That third Miss name is Hong Yu, but she's the daughter of a side branch of the Gong clan. She's always been in love with His Highness, so she must have heard some rumors to misunderstand you. Wan Ziang said. What rumors? Yi Jioga felt that his relationship with the prince was purely doctor-patient. What rumors could there be? For some reason, Wan Ziang sighed in relief after seeing Yi Jioga's confident attitude. Dongfang Ke had outstanding aptitude, a powerful background, and a handsome appearance. He'd always been the dream lover of the capital's girls. However, Yi Jioga didn't have any improper thoughts about him. It seemed that Dongfang Ke's plans were destined to fail. What rumors could there be? It's just second sister trying to sow discord, Yi Rui said with a taut face. Do you need my help? Wan Ziang also felt that the second miss had gone too far. It's fine, let her speak. The more she says now, the worse she'll die in the future. Yi Jioga smiled mockingly. Yi Shanshan was so close to the crown prince. She wouldn't even know how she would die in the future. Wan Ziang didn't mind Yi Jioga's business after seeing that he didn't need his help. Where's Songling? Didn't he say he'd escort you here? Wan Ziang looked around and asked in confusion. I don't know, I've never seen him before. Yi Jioga's journey had been smooth, so he didn't go looking for him. That shouldn't be. Wan Ziang found it strange. With Bai Songling's gossipy personality, he should have rushed out to save the damsel in distress after seeing Hong Yu attack Yi Jioga. It's fine, I don't need his protection anyway. Oh right, have you found Lu Yunfei yet? Yi Jioga was more concerned about the heretical cultivator's activities. Not yet. Wan Ziang shook his head. He was currently in charge of the city's defense while Yi Yu cooperated in secret. However, they still hadn't found any traces of Lu Yunfei. What about Su Junqing? Yi Jioga asked. He came under the Empress' orders to assist the Crown Prince in the alchemy competition. My people have been watching him, but they haven't found anything strange yet. Wan Ziang said. Keep an eye on them. If they have ulterior motives, they'll show up sooner or later. Yi Jioga said. You don't have to worry about these things. You just have to participate in the alchemy competition. As Wan Ziang spoke, he took out a yellow booklet from his sleeve and handed it to Yi Jioga. This is the name list for the alchemy competition. You can take a look when you have time. This was a benefit that belonged to the Thunder Nation's internal participants. The Crown Prince also had a copy. Thanks. Yi Jioga took it without hesitation. Know yourself and know your enemy, and you will never be defeated. If you don't take advantage of the situation, you will be a bastard. Oh, by the way, this year's quota has been cancelled. Everyone will have to start from the first round. I heard that Imperial Uncle Dongfang Yao requested this. Dongfang Yao was Alchemy City's city lord and Emperor Xian Wu's uncle. He was in charge of this year's alchemy competition. Oh. Yi Jiuge didn't want to use the quota, so he wasn't disappointed. As the two of them spoke, they arrived at the entrance of the Medicine Refinement Tower. Your rooms are in the Flying Frost Tower to the west of the Alchemy Tower. The Crown Prince is in the Lingyun Tower to the east. Gong Hongyu and Yi Shanshan are in the Maple Leaf Tower next to him. As long as you don't deliberately go there, you won't run into them. Wan Xiang still hoped that Yi Jiuge could bear with it and not cause trouble during the competition. If people don't offend me, I won't offend them. If the Crown Prince and Gong Hongyu didn't have eyes, they couldn't blame her for being impolite. Wan Xiang knew Yi Jiuge's temper very well. When he heard this, he could only smile helplessly. Then, he ordered a soldier beside him, "Call Aunt Chang over." A moment later, a middle-aged woman dressed in dark red armor walked out of the Medicine Refinement Tower with a warm smile. She bowed to Wan Xiang and said, "This subordinate greets Lord Wan. Jiuge, this is Aunt Chang in charge of the Medicine Refinement Tower. If you have any problems in the future, you can look for her." Wan Xiang implied that this Aunt Chang was one of his own. "This servant greets young lady Yi. Good luck to the young lady." Aunt Chang bowed respectfully to Yi Jiuge. "Aunt Chang is too polite." Yi Jiuge smiled faintly. "I still have matters to attend to, so I won't accompany you in." "Aunt Chang, take good care of young lady Yi." Wan Xiang gave Aunt Chang a few more instructions before leaving. Next, Aunt Chang personally brought Yi Jiuge and the others to Flying Frost House. Along the way, she told them quite a bit about the Medicine Refinement Tower. The Medicine Refinement Tower occupied an area of more than 200 acres. There were a total of 88 small buildings. They were built according to north, south, east, and west around the Medicine Refinement Tower. The Medicine Refinement Tower was the venue for their upcoming competition. Currently, there were 53 alchemists residing in the Medicine Refinement Tower. There were 30 women and 23 men. Most of them were at the first rank. After Aunt Chang brought Yi Jiuge and the others to Flying Frost House, she said, "If young lady has no other instructions, this subordinate will take her leave." "Sorry to trouble you, Aunt Chang." Yi Jiuge glanced at Hua Dai. The little girl was very perceptive and stuffed a pouch into Aunt Chang's hands. "Young miss, you're too kind." Aunt Chang declined verbally, but her hands quickly took the pouch with a greedy look on her face. After Yi Jiuge had Hua Dai send Aunt Chang out, she began to examine the two-story building made of green bamboo in front of her. The front yard of the building was on the left, while the backyard was on the right. There was a clear distinction between them. However, what Yi Jiuge was most satisfied with was the flying frost tree planted in the backyard. The azure leaves shone faintly under the sunlight, and they even carried a faint fragrance. There were 2 servant girls and 2 female servants in the Flying Frost House. Yi Jiuge let Yu Dai, Hua Dai, Qing Hu, Qing Lu, and the servant girls and female servants live on the first floor. Leader Pan and the guards lived in the outer courtyard. She chose the room facing north on the second floor, and left the room facing south for Yi Rui. "Why do you have such a long face? Don't you like it here?" Yi Jiuge asked Yi Rui. "No, I just feel very angry when I think about how second elder sister helped that woman to bully you." Although Yi Rui already knew that second elder sister wasn't a good person, she still felt very upset when she saw it with her own eyes. "You saw it too. It's not that easy for them to bully me." Yi Jiuge poked Yi Rui's angry little face and said, "All right, give me the brick." Yi Rui obediently took out the brick and asked curiously, "Big sister, what kind of treasure is this? Why do you have to buy it? Children shouldn't ask so many questions. You've been tired for the whole day. Hurry up and rest, or else you won't have the energy to participate in the competition." Yi Jioga didn't even know what kind of treasure this brick was, so how could he answer Yi Rui's question? Fortunately, Yi Rui wasn't very curious. Since Yi Jioga didn't want to say anything, she didn't continue asking. She turned around and returned to her room. Yi Jioga looked at the gray brick and impatiently called out to Zishang, "Hurry up and come out to see your treasure." Chapter 151. Zishang immediately revealed himself. His vertical pupils stared fixedly at the brick, his snake tail wagging non-stop. He didn't even bother to hug Yi Jioga. What kind of treasure is this? This was the first time Yi Jioga saw Zishang so excited. This is a form transformation bead. It disappeared after the demon war. I didn't expect it to be here. Zishang felt that his luck was off the charts. With this, he could completely transform into a human. If the form transformation bead is so precious, why would it be used as a brick to pad a shelf? Yi Jioga found it unbelievable. Who knows? Zishang didn't care about this. He wiped his palm on the brick and sucked out an azure blue bead that emitted a faint fragrance. Yi Jioga was attracted by the fragrance and couldn't help but swallow her saliva. She could feel that this was a good thing and would be very beneficial to her. Don't think about it. It's mine. If it was anything else, Zishang wouldn't mind giving it to her, but this form transformation bead was out of the question. I'm just taking a look. Yi Jioga didn't dare to snatch something from Zishang's mouth. I'm going into seclusion to cultivate. Be careful and don't get into trouble. Zishang swallowed the form transformation bead and returned to Yi Jioga's imprint. When are you coming out? Yi Jioga hurriedly asked. Unfortunately, Zishang didn't respond. It seemed like he was in deep sleep. F***ck, it's like this every time. Big sister curses you for failing to transform. Yi Jioga cursed inwardly. Following that, she had dinner and took care of some miscellaneous matters before returning to her room to flip through the yellow booklet Wan Xiang gave her. There was a detailed introduction of each contestant's situation, and even the address of their medicine refining tower was recorded. This batch of contestants, including her and Yi Shanshan, had a total of 6 second-rank pill refiners. Apart from Gong Hongyu from Baimu City, the names of the others were unfamiliar. She skimmed through the booklet and sat cross-legged on the bed to cultivate the manifestation technique. Ever since she collected the white bone fire, her cultivation speed was extremely fast. Even if she didn't cultivate her spiritual power, she could still circulate it slowly. However, the most impressive thing was her divine sense. In the past, it could only envelop a room at most. Now, it could extend outwards. She slowly released her divine sense to the next room and clearly saw Yi Rui sleeping soundly. Just as she was about to continue training her divine sense, suddenly, something with the smell of blood swept past her small building and flew towards the east. Her divine sense bounced back abruptly. Yi Jioga immediately opened his eyes. That cold and bloody aura just now was very strange and did not seem to belong to Su Junqing. Could it be Lu Yunfei? Yi Jioga hurriedly jumped out of the window and chased after that row of small buildings in the east. Unfortunately, after circling the inside and outside of the building, he could no longer find that strange aura. Other than the Crown Prince, Su Junqing, Yi Shanshan, and Gong Hongyu, she remembered that there were several other important people living here. Yi Jioga took out the yellow booklet again and started reading. She discovered that other than her, the other Tier 2 pill refiners were all living in the eastern building. Was it a coincidence or an accident? The more Yi Jioga thought about it, the more uneasy he became. He returned to his room and had a sleepless night. He got up before dawn to look for Aunt Chong. Aunt Chong, was there any movement at the east building last night? Yi Jioga asked. No, the guard on duty last night said it was very peaceful there. Did young Miss discover something? Auntie Chang quickly asked. If Yi Jioga discovered something and they did not know about it, then they would have failed in their duties. No, I was just casually asking. Yi Jioga shook his head and could not help but look towards the east. He saw that it was very quiet there. Other than the servants coming in and out, there was not a single pill refiner walking around. Everyone was focused on preparing for the competition tomorrow. Thinking about the competition tomorrow, Yi Jioga could only put down the questions in his heart and wholeheartedly prepare for the competition. The next day, the pill refining competition officially began. All the participants had to wait in the pill refining pavilion's hall to enter. Yi Jioga pulled Yi Rui to a corner and carefully observed the Tier 2 pill refiners participating in the competition. Gong Hongyu wore a red dress today and stood in the middle of the hall. She was very arrogant and looked at the others with disdain. It was as if she was saying that all of them were trash who were here to spar with her. Yi Shanshan wore a white dress and stood beside Gong Hongyu like a white lotus. She was very low-key. A young man with a head full of small braids and dressed in a black and red robe stood in the left corner. His eyes wandered around and he was very vigilant. A middle-aged woman with high cheekbones, a mean face, and thin wrinkles on the corners of her mouth stood in the right corner. She looked very aloof. A tall and sturdy man with short hair stood by the door. His eyes were sharp and his face was dark. Although he looked like a martial artist, he was 100% a second-rank pill refiner. As Yi Jioga was studying them, they were also sizing up each other to assess the gap between them. Yi Jioga's reputation as a trash had spread far and wide, so these alchemists did not put her in their eyes. Most of their attention was on Gong Hongyu and Yi Shanshan. Big sister, why hasn't the competition started yet? Yi Rui was a little tired from standing. Soon, just wait a little longer. Just as Yi Jioga finished speaking, 20 young men wearing green bamboo embroidered robes walked in from the back. These were the students of Alchemy City. They were responsible for all aspects of the competition. One of the students held a large green box in his hand and announced, "Honored guests, please come and draw lots. The number you draw will represent the room you will be using later." Yi Jioga drew number 36, while Yi Rui drew number 48. After drawing lots, the students stood in 2 rows and shouted in unison, "Greetings, Grandmaster Dongfang." Tap tap tap. A grey-robed old man with messy hair and a wizened face walked in. This was the Thunder Nation's 5th-rank alchemist in charge of this competition, Dongfang Yao. This old man's white hair was tied up with a piece of cloth. A few strands fell on his forehead. One side of his sleeves was long and the other short. One look and you could tell he was someone who didn't care about what the world thought of him. He had spent his entire life guarding Alchemy City and was widely recognized as a pill-refining madman. Every year, he would be the judge for the competition. He was a very fair person and everyone trusted him. Dongfang Yao was a man of few words. He immediately rang the bell and announced the start of the competition. Yi Jioga's alchemy room was in the middle right corner with a simple layout. On the left was a second-grade alchemy cauldron while on the right were tools used to process ingredients. None of the alchemy rooms had roofs so that the judges could observe from above. Today's test is the heart-nourishing pill. Dongfang Yao's voice echoed throughout the venue. Yi Jioga was startled when she heard the question. Chapter 152. Yi Jioga remembered that in the past alchemy competitions, the first 2 rounds were all about basic pills, and only in the last round would the more difficult pills appear. Who would have thought that they would use such a big move in the first round? No wonder the recommendation was cancelled. Gosh, how could it be the heart-nourishing pill? I've never practiced it before. Many examinees started wailing. The heart-nourishing pill was a rather unpopular pill. Coupled with the fact that the required herbs were rather complicated, very few people would refine this pill. Aside from experience, pill concoction also requires the ability to learn and comprehend. I will give you 3 sets of medicinal herbs and a pill formula. If you feel that you cannot concoct it, you can scram now, Dongfang Yao said impatiently. In the past, he had always relied on the basic pills that alchemists often refined. Every time he appraised the pills, it would be difficult to determine which one was better, which made him feel very annoyed. Recently, he had been researching a new pill formula, so he was not in the mood to host this alchemy competition. Thus, he simply chose a pill that no one practiced often and eliminated most of the people first. A 5th-grade imperial alchemist was just that capricious. Although Yi Jioga had never refined the heart-nourishing pill before, she was not afraid of it. The heart-nourishing pill required 49 types of medicinal herbs to be concocted, and the apprentice brought over a large basket of medicinal herbs. Yi Jioga poured out the medicinal herbs from the basket and arranged them in the small bamboo basket. When she examined the heart-nourishing flower, her pupils suddenly contracted. The heart-nourishing flower was about the size of a thumb. It had pink petals and gray stamens. It was the main ingredient of the heart-nourishing pill. In this large bunch of heart-nourishing flowers, there were a dozen small flowers with black spots on their stamens. It was impossible to distinguish them from each other. However, Yi Jioga's eyesight was extraordinary. He could tell at a glance that this small flower with a black stamen was not a heart-nourishing flower, but a heart-devouring flower. Although the heart-devouring flower looked very similar to the heart-nourishing flower, its effects were the exact opposite. If it was refined as a heart-nourishing flower, it would become a highly toxic pill. Consuming it would result in a loss of spiritual energy, and in severe cases, death. Because they grew up in different environments, most people wouldn't make a mistake. Unless, the person who delivered the medicine made a mistake on purpose. Yi Jioga looked up at a tall and skinny apprentice in front of him. He was the one who had delivered the medicine. The apprentice happened to be peeking at her out of the corner of his eye. When their eyes met, he immediately turned his face away guiltily. Other than the crown prince, she couldn't think of anyone else who could instruct an apprentice to tamper with her herbs. If it was an alchemist who was not familiar with the heart-nourishing pill, he might really fall for it. But to Yi Jioga, it was a piece of cake. She didn't want to make it public, because it was useless to say it. The heart-devouring flower and the heart-nourishing flower looked very similar, so it was reasonable for the apprentices to say that they had made a mistake. Moreover, the selection of medicinal herbs was originally a part of the competition, so there was nothing to make a fuss about. After Yi Jioga picked out all the heart-devouring flowers, he went to check the alchemy furnace and indeed found a problem. There were a few small holes on the furnace, which would lower the grade of the pill. Yi Jioga didn't stand on ceremony this time and directly called the apprentice over to ask for a new alchemy furnace. In the referee room on the top floor. In addition to the main referee, Dongfang Yao, there were also 2 level 4 alchemists as assistant referees. The short and plump man was called Old Chen. The tall and thin man was called Elder Xiao. Both of them were elders of Alchemy City. In addition to the 3 referees, the crown prince, Dongfang Jianming, was also present. He was respectfully standing beside Dongfang Yao, accompanying him to observe the situation of the various alchemy rooms. Now that all the apprentices had started to concoct the medicinal herbs, Yi Jioga's movements immediately attracted Dongfang Yao's attention. "What's the matter with number 36? Dongfang Yao frowned and asked. "She said that there's a problem with the alchemy furnace and wants us to give her a new one." Dongfang Yao's head apprentice, Li Zijuan, quickly asked about the situation. "Didn't I ask you to inspect it carefully? How could there be a problem?" Dongfang Yao's sharp eyes swept over. This was because the alchemy competition's medicinal herbs and equipment were distributed uniformly. Thus, he was very strict about this. "This disciple has failed in his duty, please punish me, master." Li Zijuan immediately bowed and apologized. Uncle, this matter can't be blamed on Zijuan. That number 36 Yi Jioga is a famous troublemaker. Unless you give her the 30,000 gold cauldron, she won't be satisfied. The crown prince added oil to the fire. Who is Yi Jioga? Dongfang Yao was stunned. She's Grandmaster Yun's granddaughter. Elder Chen added. Isn't Grandmaster Yun's granddaughter trash? Why is she participating in the competition? Although Dongfang Yao had been stationed in Alchemy City for many years, he had heard of Yi Jioga's reputation as a trash. Uncle, you might not know, but Yi Jioga said that she had a fortuitous encounter. Not only did she recover her appearance and cultivation, she even became a second-rank alchemist. The crown prince pointed out with a smile. So there was such a thing? What kind of fortuitous encounter did she have? Elder Xiao asked with interest. Who knows? She said that she was able to recover her cultivation with a pill left behind by Grandmaster Yun in the unbounded abyss. I was just about to ask the Grandmasters if there really is a pill in this world that can allow someone with severed meridians to recover their cultivation and learn alchemy without a teacher? The crown prince exaggeratedly asked. If there really is such a pill, then this old man would like to see it for himself. Elder Xiao stroked his beard. He clearly didn't believe it. Elder Chen didn't say anything, but his chubby face was also filled with disapproval. The world is so big that nothing is too strange. Old man Yun has always been lucky, so it wouldn't be strange for him to leave behind some treasures for his bloodline. Dongfang Yao disapprovingly spoke. Although he didn't get along with Yun Tianwei in the past, ever since Yun Tianwei's disappearance, he felt more and more lonely without an opponent. Now that he heard someone questioning his opponent, it felt as if the person was questioning him. Uncle is right, I am ignorant and inexperienced. The crown prince didn't think that the imperial uncle would speak up for Yi Jioga. He originally wanted to pour dirty water on Yi Jioga, but he immediately swallowed it back down. Dongfang Yao carefully looked at Yi Jioga's pill concoction technique and nodded. Not bad, it seems like you have practiced quite a bit. Yi Jioga didn't know that she had already entered Dongfang Yao's eyes. She concentrated on processing the ingredients before starting the pill concoction. The heart-nourishing pill was difficult to concoct because there were too many ingredients. In order to completely fuse the medicinal liquid, one had to pay attention to the heat. One careless mistake could result in a waste pill, so one could only rely on the experience of an alchemist. However, Yi Jioga's spiritual sense had greatly increased after her breakthrough. The 49 ingredients inside the cauldron were all clearly visible to her. At this moment, most of the ingredients had already dissolved. Only the heart-nourishing flour was still a bit lacking. She increased the heat, and after the heart-nourishing flour had completely dissolved, she lowered the heat to simmer it slowly. She didn't stay idle while she was simmering. She used her spiritual sense to flip the medicinal liquid up and down, so that it was evenly heated. Just as the pill was about to be finished, a sudden change occurred. Chapter 153. The originally quiet earth fire suddenly surged, turning into raging flames that spread out. The medicine shelves closest to the furnace were all set on fire. The fire was about to reach Yi Jioga's face. Her fingers moved slightly, and a wisp of white flame quietly drilled into the source of the earth fire, swallowing it in one gulp. Yi Jioga waved her hand and the earth fire that lost its source disappeared, leaving behind a charred furnace. The commotion of the fire was too big. Even Yi Rui realized something was wrong. She ignored the student's obstruction and ran over, asking anxiously, "Big sister, are you okay?" "I'm fine." "Why are you here?" "Hurry up and go back to concoct pills," Yi Jioga said. "Big sister, why are you still concocting pills?" Yi Rui was so angry that her face turned red. She shouted at the student, "What are you guys doing? You can't even control the earth fire. What if someone gets burned? When the people who were concocting pills heard Yi Rui's words, they couldn't help but move away from the earth fire. The heart-nourishing pill was already hard to concoct. Now that they were distracted, they basically became useless pills. They immediately complained about the earth fire. What's going on? Dongfang Yao had already rushed over from the referee's room when the earth fire went out of control. Behind him were Old Chen, Old Xiao, and the Crown Prince. Master, the earth fire went out of control. Li Zijuan's expression was very ugly. The alchemy competition had been held for so many years, but this was the first time such a major mistake had occurred. Everyone else's earth fire is fine. Why did your earth fire go out of control? Did you do something you shouldn't have? The Crown Prince sneered, looking at Yi Jioge with malice. If I knew how to make the earth fire go out of control, I would be the Crown Prince, Yi Jioge said sarcastically. What do you mean by that? Are you saying that the earth fire went out of control because of the Crown Prince? Dongfang Yao asked directly. Uncle, I didn't, the Crown Prince quickly denied. There must be some misunderstanding here. Miss Yi, why don't you come to the referee's room with us? Old Chen saw that the situation was bad and quickly said. No, if there's anything, we'll have to make it clear here. Big sister just changed the alchemy furnace. Is there something wrong with that alchemy furnace? Yi Rui was small in stature, but she was full of vigor. She looked like she wanted to seek justice for her big sister. Yes, someone drilled a hole in that pill furnace. Yi Jioge nodded. She didn't want to say these things, but she was very angry when she lost control of the earth fire. It was one thing for the Crown Prince to tamper with the medicinal herbs and the cauldron, but to think that he even dared to touch the earth fire. If not for her white bone flame being able to devour flames, she might have been injured by this earth fire. Just as everyone was discussing this matter, Dongfang Yao coldly said, the path of alchemy is ever-changing, so accidents are very common. However, as an alchemist, you must abide by your heart. If you don't want to compete, then scram. As soon as he said that, no one dared to say anything else. They all retracted their heads and started to refine their pills again. Even though he had failed to concoct the pill just now, he still had 2 more chances. He couldn't afford to waste them. Fourth sister, Great Master Dongfang is right. If you want to advance on the path of alchemy, you have to get rid of external things. You should also go back. Yi Jioge patted Yi Rui's head. All right. Although Yi Rui was still a little unwilling, she still obediently returned to her alchemy room. Change her alchemy room and prepare 3 more sets of ingredients. Dongfang Yao ordered the disciples behind him. No need. Yi Jioge shook his head. What? You want to withdraw from the competition just because of a little setback? Dongfang Yao looked displeased. With just this little ability, you still have the face to say that you are Great Master Yun's granddaughter. The Crown Prince sneered from the side. I don't want to withdraw from the competition. Yi Jioge said with an innocent face. Then what do you want? Dongfang Yao frowned, thinking that Yi Jioge wanted to take the opportunity to make a rude request. I don't want to do anything. Yi Jioge inexplicably looked at Dongfang Yao and said, my heart-nourishing pill has already been refined. There is no need to prepare another alchemy room and ingredients. Isn't your pill useless? Dongfang Yao's surprised gaze fell on Yi Jioge's alchemy furnace. Who said it was useless? Yi Jioge opened the alchemy furnace that was burnt black. Inside the alchemy furnace lay 3 pink and lustrous pills, exuding a fragrant aura. She had just used her spiritual sense to wrap around the already formed heart-nourishing pill, so the pill was not affected by the out-of-control earth fire. Grade 1 heart-nourishing pill. Dongfang Yao could see the grade of this pill at a glance, and could not help but look at Yi Jioge with a bit of appreciation. Then I can rest now. Yi Jioga's expression was cold. Wait a moment, come with me first, I have something to ask you. Dongfang Yao turned and walked towards the tea room on the second floor. Yi Jioga put away the heart-nourishing pill and followed Dongfang Yao upstairs. The crown prince fiercely looked at Yi Jioga's back, wishing that he could eat her alive. What does Great Master Dongfang want with me? Yi Jioga stood at the door and asked. Dongfang Yao was also a clever person. He did not invite Yi Jioga to sit down, and directly asked, "Girl, are you selling the spiritual fire in your body?" Yi Jioga's pupils suddenly shrank. He did not think that even though he was so careful, he would still be able to detect the existence of the white bone fire. However, at this time, he absolutely could not admit it. Yi Jioga was just about to play dumb, when Dongfang Yao opened his mouth and said, "It is useless for you to deny it, this old man has his own way to test it. The earth fire here is something that I have spent countless efforts to cultivate. You commanded the spiritual fire to swallow it, shouldn't you give this old man an explanation?" Yi Jioga was silent for a moment, then said, "That is because you harmed me first. This time, it is indeed our dereliction of duty. This old man will definitely give you an explanation after investigating." Although Dongfang Yao was obsessed with cultivation, he was not a fool who did not know anything. "Even if Dongfang Jianming is behind this, can you give me an explanation?" Yi Jioga raised his eyebrows, his face was full of disbelief. "Even if Dongfang Yan is behind this old man can still give you an explanation." Dongfang Yao was very domineering. He did not even put Xian Wu Emperor Dongfang Yan in his eyes. Yi Jioga could see that Dongfang Yao was not lying to her. But even so, she could not sell the white bone fire to him. "This is a different thing. I will give you 100 spirit coins to buy your spiritual fire, and I will also give you a wood pseudo-spiritual fire. If you have any other requests, as long as I can do it, I will agree." Dongfang Yao's price was very reasonable. 1 spirit coin was equivalent to 10,000 gold, but even gold could not be exchanged for spirit coins. Although the wood pseudo-spiritual fire was not a spiritual fire, it was still a very rare flame, and it was very suitable for Yi Jioga's current cultivation. The most important thing was the promise of Dongfang Yao, a rank 5 alchemist of the imperial family. If it was someone else, they would have been tempted, but unfortunately, Yi Jioga could not sell it. He would die if he sold it. Chapter 154. Little girl, this price is already very reasonable. Don't push your luck. Dongfang Yao said with dissatisfaction. I'm not pushing my luck. I'm not selling. Yi Jioga said plainly. She had already integrated the white bone fire into her dantian. Digging it out was the same as opening a hole in her dantian. If you don't want to sell, then forget it. Dongfang Yao waved his hand in annoyance. If it was a small alchemist, he would have taken the spiritual fire even if he had to. However, Yi Jioga was Yun Tianwei's granddaughter, so he couldn't bring himself to do it. Seeing that Dongfang Yao was so easygoing, Yi Jioga felt a bit apologetic. After a moment of hesitation, she said, "Actually, this spiritual fire is useless to you." "What do you mean?" Dongfang Yao asked in confusion. Yi Jioga raised his finger, and a wisp of white flame with a strange and serene aura appeared. The entire room became incomparably gloomy. "Ghost fire? Are you crazy? You actually dared to store the ghost fire in your dantian." Dongfang Yao was shocked and looked at Yi Jioga as if he had seen a ghost. Ghost fire could only be used to refine yin pills, but spirit cultivators needed yang pills. Only evil cultivators and devil cultivators needed yin pills. Currently, there were very few yin pill recipes on the market. Even Dongfang Yao only had a few, so this ghost fire was useless. Yi Jioga smiled and didn't explain. She couldn't tell Dongfang Yao that she had a complete set of yin pill recipes. Little girl, you look soft, but you're quite brave. You're worthy of being old man Yun's bloodline. Although Dongfang Yao felt that it was crazy for an alchemist to store a ghost fire, he still admired Yi Jioga's courage. Great Master Dongfang, do you know my grandfather? Do you know where he went before he disappeared? Yi Jioga immediately asked. Little girl, don't misunderstand. I'm not familiar with your grandfather. Dongfang Yao snorted arrogantly. Oh. Yi Jioga immediately became cold. Dongfang Yao was a bit annoyed by her attitude. He coldly snorted and said, Old man Yun left too suddenly. I only heard that he went to a secret realm to find some treasure. Treasure? Could her grandfather's disappearance be related to the treasure map? Although Yi Jioga was surprised, his expression did not change. He said calmly, Thank you for your guidance, Master Dongfang. Little girl, don't learn from old Yun and go searching for treasures. How could there be so many treasures in this world for you to find? Dongfang Yao muttered. Just as Yi Jioga was getting dizzy from Dongfang Yao's nagging, he heard a knock on the door. Li Zijuan said respectfully, Master, the competition is over. Dongfang Yao replied in a dignified manner before instructing Yi Jioga, take your pills and leave. With that, he got up and left the room. Yi Jioga silently returned to the competition venue. There were a total of 52 participants in the alchemy competition, but only 6 level 2 alchemists succeeded in refining the heart-nourishing pill. The pills refined by the others were all useless. At this moment, the heart-nourishing pills refined by Yi Jioga and the others were lined up in front of the judge. Yi Jioga's heart-nourishing pill is the best, Dongfang Yao said directly. Her heart-nourishing pill is not bad, but I feel that Gong Hongyu and Yi Shanshan's pills are better, and their methods are more standard. Elder Xiao and Elder Chen had different opinions. Then Yi Jioga is the best, Gong Hongyu and Yi Shanshan are the best, and the other 3 are good, Dongfang Yao said decisively. Elder Chen and Elder Xiao nodded silently. After all, this was only the first round of the competition. There were still 2 more rounds to go. The Crown Prince disagreed, Uncle, the medicine testing segment hasn't started yet. It's too early to judge now. The medicine testing segment of the Thunder Nation's alchemy competition was to gather people who were willing to test the medicine. When the competition started, they would choose the most suitable patients based on the effects of the medicine. A medicine that could cure an illness was a good medicine, and a medicine that could kill a person was a bad one. In the previous alchemy competition, there were many examples of people being cured by the medicine, but no one had died from eating it. After all, the medicine that could advance to the next stage was of a good grade. Let the patients come in. Dongfang Yao instructed Li Zijuan. Yes. Li Zijuan nodded respectfully and ordered the apprentices to bring the patients in. Not long later, 6 people with pale faces and cyanosis on their lips walked in. It was obvious that they were patients with serious heart problems. The person in charge of testing the medicine for Yi Jioga was a handsome young man with dark skin and deep facial features. Although he was wearing the most commonly seen narrow sleeves of the Thunder Nation, Yi Jioga was certain that he wasn't from the Thunder Nation. When the other patients saw the medicine, they all revealed expressions of surprise, nervousness, excitement, fear, and worry. Only this young man's eyes were lowered, and he was strangely calm. Let's start testing the medicine. Li Zijuan instructed the apprentices to help the patients take the heart-nourishing pill. Gong Hongyu's patient was a slender young lady with a beautiful appearance. She clutched her chest and looked like a sickly beauty. After taking the heart-nourishing pill, her pale face gradually became rosy, and her slightly bent body straightened up. She seemed to be in high spirits, and her face was glowing as if she had taken the divine medicine. Heavens, my illness is completely cured. Thank you, Master, for saving my life. The lady immediately knelt on the ground and began to sob. From what I see, Gong Hongyu's medicine is the most outstanding. The Crown Prince nodded in satisfaction. Yi Jioga's eyes flashed with a trace of disdain. Although the heart-nourishing pill would have an obvious effect on the patient, this young lady's performance was a little too exaggerated. Either her illness wasn't as serious as it seemed, or she was a healthy person. With the Crown Prince's personality, it was possible that he would do such a thing in order to help Gong Hongyu win. Yi Shanshan didn't know how Yi Shanshan felt when she saw the Crown Prince helping Gong Hongyu. Yi Shanshan's patient was a skinny young man of 17 years old. His thin lips were deep purple, and he seemed to be having difficulty breathing. After taking the heart-nourishing pill, his breathing immediately became smoother. The purple on his lips faded and was replaced by a faint pink. He seemed to be much more energetic. He solemnly kowtowed 3 times to Yi Shanshan, thanking her for saving his life. The other patient's conditions also improved after taking the heart-nourishing pill. However, compared to Gong Hongyu's medicine, they were far inferior. Finally, only the young patient, Yi Jioga, was left. Eat it. The apprentice who helped the young man get the medicine was the one who gave the medicine to Yi Jioga. The young man fixed his eyes on the pill. His slightly dark handsome face revealed a determined expression. He took it and swallowed it. Because Yi Jioga's medicine was rated the best, everyone wanted to see the effect of her medicine. After taking the heart-nourishing pill, the young man's pale face gradually became rosy. His purple lips also returned to normal. Although it wasn't as exaggerated as Gong Hongyu's, the effect was not bad. At this point, the medicine testing segment was over. The Crown Prince was just about to suggest changing Gong Hongyu's medicine to the best when there was a sudden commotion among the people testing the medicine. The young man who took Yi Jioga's medicine staggered and rushed out. His expression was ferocious and painful. He opened his mouth as if he wanted to say something, but he suddenly spat out a mouthful of bright red blood and fell heavily to the ground. Chapter 155. What's going on? Everyone was shocked. Yi Jioga immediately rushed forward to check the young man's pulse and discovered that his heart meridians were all broken. It was a miracle that he didn't die. She took out the thunder fire needle and sealed his broken heart meridians. She then raised her head and shouted at Li Zijuan, "Prepare a quiet room for me. I want to treat him." Oh! Li Zijuan was about to instruct the apprentices to prepare a room when he was stopped by Gong Hongyu. She pointed at Yi Jioga and shouted, "Yi Jioga, you actually refined a poisonous pill to harm people. You're simply heartless and heartless." After saying that, she turned to look at the judges and said, "I strongly request that the alchemy competition disqualify her." "I agree." The Crown Prince immediately nodded. "Agree, your grandpa." Yi Jioga raised his head and said angrily, "Saving people is more important. Is this the time to talk about this? He was poisoned to death by you and you still have the face to talk about saving people." Gong Hongyu coldly snorted and said to Dongfang Yao, "Grandmaster, Yi Jioga is vicious and merciless. You must not tolerate her." Dongfang Yao picked up Yi Jioga's remaining heart-nourishing pill and sniffed it. He frowned and said, "There's no problem with these pills. Grandmaster, Yi Jioga's tester died in front of you. How can you say that there's no problem?" Gong Hongyu agitatedly said. "Gong Hongyu, you keep saying that there's a problem with my pills. Did you do something?" Yi Jioga saw that he couldn't save people if he didn't clear the pill. He simply stood up and pointed at the tall and thin apprentice and said, "He put the heart-devouring flower in my ingredients. You must have instructed him." "What heart-devouring flower? I never sent it." The tall and thin apprentice hurriedly shook his head in denial. "If you didn't send these heart-devouring flowers, then did I bring them in myself?" Yi Jioga took out a heart-devouring flower from his pocket and sneered. Li Zijuan took the ingredients from Yi Jiuge's hands and carefully looked at them before handing them to Dongfang Yao. It seems to be heart-devouring flour. Dongfang Yao glanced at it and knew it was heart-devouring flour. Because this flour was too similar to the heart-nourishing flour, he specially told the apprentices to choose carefully. He didn't expect that someone would deliberately put a large amount in. Dongfang Yao knew very well who was behind this. He had wanted to warn the Crown Prince after this round of competition was over, but he couldn't help it now. The Crown Prince didn't know that his uncle was already dissatisfied with him. He said with justice, "I don't know anything about the heart-devouring flour. I only know that your medicine tester died after eating your pill. This is your responsibility. Unfortunately, my medicinal tester is still alive. I fear I will have to disappoint your highness," Yi Jiuge said coldly. Although the medicine tester was no different from being dead, she had to save him because of the Crown Prince's words. Dongfang Yao calmly stepped forward to take the pulse of the youth. He then took out a bottle of third-stage heart-nourishing pills and said to Yi Jiuge, "Let him take this." Yi Jiuge took it without hesitation and poured it all into the young man's mouth. The young man's deathly pale face finally regained some color. "Imperial uncle, he is just a tester. You actually gave him such a good pill. Isn't it too wasteful?" The Crown Prince was furious. A third-stage heart-nourishing pill was something that couldn't be bought with money. To actually give it to a dying alchemist, the imperial uncle was really muddle-headed. Because the young man's condition was the most serious, his heart meridian was already extremely weak. He could die at any moment, so the imperial uncle specially gave it to Yi Jiuge. He didn't think that the imperial uncle would help Yi Jiuge like this. "Shut up." Dongfang Yao raised his head and fiercely said to the Crown Prince, "Before you came, everything was normal. Now that you've interfered, there are problems everywhere. I can't tolerate a big Buddha like you here. You should go back to Shangjing." "Imperial uncle, what do you mean?" The Crown Prince was so shocked that his voice trembled. "That's right, Great Master Dongfang. It was clearly Yi Jiuge who made the wrong pill and caused the death. How can you blame the Crown Prince?" Gong Hongyu was also dissatisfied. She wanted to help the Crown Prince, but she didn't think that Dongfang Yao was preparing to deal with her. "Gong Hongyu, you are disqualified." Dongfang Yao's eyes were very cold. "Why?" Gong Hongyu screamed. "Because you cheated." Dongfang Yao wasn't blind. He could naturally see that Gong Hongyu's tester was not a patient. If it was any other time, he would turn a blind eye. After all, Gong Hongyu's pills were quite good. But since she was so arrogant, she couldn't blame him for not giving face to the Gong family. Gong Hongyu was so angry that she trembled, but she didn't dare to contradict the angry Dongfang Yao. She fiercely glared at Yi Jiuge, then ran out in tears. Elder Chen and Elder Shao looked at each other, not daring to make a sound. The other alchemists also maintained their silence. "The test is over. Let the evaluation begin," Dongfang Yao once again ordered. Although Yi Jiuge's tester did not die, her evaluation still became the lowest. The other three second-stage alchemists were still good, so the best result was Yi Shanshan. Yi Jiuge didn't care about this result. He only asked Li Zijuan to help send the tester to his Flying Frost Pavilion. Li Zijuan did as Dongfang Yao said. In the Rising Heaven Pavilion, the Crown Prince's face was as ugly as a dark cloud. Once he returned to his courtyard, he immediately called Su Junqing over and scolded him. "Didn't you say that if we followed your plan, we would definitely be able to pull Yi Jiuge down? How come she not only won the competition, but also caused me to be despised by Imperial Uncle?" When he thought that his Imperial Uncle would tell this matter to his Imperial Father, his entire body froze from the top of his head to the bottom of his feet. "Your Highness, please calm down. I didn't expect things to turn out this way." Su Junqing had set up layers of traps to push Yi Jioge and Wan Xiang into the land of 10,000 calamity. He didn't expect that Yi Jioge not only didn't fall for his trap, but also hit the crown prince. I don't care what method you use, I will kill Yi Jioge. The crown prince said angrily. Don't worry, crown prince. Even if Yi Jioge wins the pill refining competition, she won't be able to escape from our palms. Su Junqing said confidently. You say that every time, but when can you do it well? I really don't know why Imperial Mother sent you here. You're simply trash. The crown prince roared at Su Junqing. A sinister light flashed in Su Junqing's eyes, but he quickly returned to his original state. He smiled and looked at the crown prince's eyes. He said gently, there must be a reason why the Empress sent me to assist your highness. You can choose not to believe me, but you can't not believe the Empress. The crown prince looked at Su Junqing's bottomless eyes and suddenly felt that Su Junqing was right. Everyone could be wrong, but not his imperial mother. Then I'll believe you once more. The crown prince said unwillingly. Yes, your highness, please do as I say. Su Junqing said his next step of the plan. The crown prince was shocked after hearing it. Chapter 156. Are you crazy? That's someone from the Gong family. The crown prince looked at Su Junqing in disbelief. Your highness, this subordinate knows that you want to rope in the Gong clan, but Gong Hongyu is definitely not a good choice, because the person she likes is Dongfang Quebec. No matter how well you treat her, it's useless. Su Junqing said slowly. The crown prince immediately thought of how Gong Hongyu had complained about him being useless after being disqualified by Dongfang Yao. The more he thought about it, the angrier he got. He couldn't help but clench his fists and said fiercely, You're right, a stupid woman isn't worth roping in. It's better to use her for something more useful. Your highness is wise. Su Junqing's lips curled up and he left. When he returned to his room and opened the door, he smelled a faint fishy smell. Junior brother, I heard that you were scolded badly today. Lu Yunfei's sweet voice sounded from Su Junqing's bed. Then, a fair and tender lotus root-like arm lifted the green bed curtain, revealing a delicate face and fair and smooth shoulders. Senior sister is indeed powerful, nothing can hide from your eyes. Su Junqing looked down, not daring to look at the bed. How is it? Do you want senior sister to help you vent your anger? Lu Yunfei got off the bed naked. The man's corpse lying behind her looked like a skeleton. Lu Yunfei had just sucked the essence and blood of a martial artist. Her skin was glowing and a faint fragrance floated to the tip of Su Junqing's nose. Thank you for your kindness, senior sister, but the crown prince is still useful. Let him go first. Su Junqing looked at his nose and silently closed his nose aperture. If you come and help me put on my clothes, I'll consider letting him go. Lu Yunfei laughed, the white swaying on her chest reflecting a dazzling light. Yes. Su Junqing calmed down again and picked up the pink dudu on the ground to help Lu Yunfei put it on. The whole process was very calm. I couldn't tell that little junior brother is a good person. Lu Yunfei put on her clothes and pinched Su Junqing's chest. Tell me, why did you call me here? Senior sister, the crown prince has already agreed to the next step of our plan. Tonight is the highlight of the show, so I hope that senior sister can personally cooperate with us to prevent things from changing. Su Junqing specially brought a man with a high cultivation as a sacrifice and called Lu Yunfei back, hoping that she would personally deal with Yi Jioge. Don't worry, since I've taken your benefits, I'll naturally do my best to help you. Lu Yunfei frivolously patted Su Junqing's face and smiled very charmingly. For the past few days, she had been playing with the shadow assassin, Yi Yu. Originally, he wanted to push him down tonight and reap the fruits of victory. However, the sacrificial offering just now was still to her liking. She was very full now, so she decided to pick the night feather later. Thank you, senior sister. Su Junqing had a grateful expression, but in his heart, he was very dissatisfied. This wasn't his mission alone, but Lu Yunfei looked like she was here to help. However, no matter how dissatisfied he was, he did not dare to make a sound. If he failed this mission, Lu Yunfei would at most be confined and punished by the elder ancestor, but he would not be able to escape death. Alright, I'll go meet that prey now. Lu Yunfei stuck out her pink tongue and licked her lips, muttering to herself, although that woman's temper is a bit bad, her skin is not bad. With that, her figure disappeared like a ghost. Su Junqing silently destroyed the dried corpse on the bed and tidied up the messy room. Then, he opened the window and looked towards the west direction of the Flying Frost sect, laughing coldly in his heart, Yi Jioga, tonight will be the day of your death. At this moment, Yi Jioga was in the backyard of the Flying Frost sect treating the youth who was testing the medicine. Although the youth had already taken the bottle of rank 3 heart-nourishing pills from Dong Fangyao, his condition was still very bad. His broken heart meridian was in a mess, his blood was flowing in the opposite direction, and he was in danger of dying at any moment. If she wanted to save him, she had to use external force to smooth out his heart meridian, allowing his blood to circulate normally. If Yi Jioga did not advance, she was afraid that she would be helpless. She pinched her fingers and inserted the thunder fire needle into the youth's body, and began to use all her strength to repair his heart meridian. Ever since Yi Jioga's cultivation advanced, not only did the spiritual power in her body double, her control over the lightning fire needle also became more sensitive. Under her control, the purplish-red lightning fire needle turned into a stream of light, repairing the youth's heart meridian one by one. Time flew. When she finished repairing the last one, her entire body was about to collapse. But fortunately, the heart meridian was repaired perfectly. After the youth's blood returned to the right path, his breathing became incomparably stable, and his tightly knitted brows also relaxed. Yi Jioga estimated that he would probably need another 4 hours before he would wake up, so she left the room. Yi Rui was anxiously waiting outside. Upon seeing her, she immediately asked, "Big sister, just what happened? Who is that man?" After she lost the first round of the competition, she was cleared out, so she did not know what happened afterwards. Just now, when she saw Yi Jioga bringing a dying man back, she was really scared to death. "He is my medicine tester today." Yi Jioga told her what happened in the competition. After Yi Rui heard that Gong Hongyu was disqualified and the crown prince was chased back to the capital, she immediately jumped up in joy and shouted, "This good news must be properly celebrated. Let's celebrate then." Yi Jioga saw that the crown prince and Gong Hongyu were out of luck, so she was also very happy. "Qing Hu, Qing Lu, Yu Dai, Hua Dai, take some money to the small kitchen and have them make a few more dishes. Tonight, we will have a big meal." Yi Rui excitedly said. "Yes." Qing Hu, Qing Lu, and Yu Dai all responded. "Where is Hua Dai?" Yi Jioga glanced around and found that a little maid was missing. Hua Dai heard that there is a pastry shop in Alchemy City that makes very authentic hawthorn cakes, so she wanted to buy them for Big Miss to try. Looking at the time, they should be back soon. Yu Dai quickly said. Yi Jioga couldn't help but frown and said, "These days are not peaceful, don't go out too much in the future." This time, the crown prince suffered such a big loss, so he was afraid that he would not be satisfied and randomly bite people. "Yes, this servant understands." Yu Dai and the others quickly nodded. Qing Hu took the money to the small kitchen and came back to report, "Big Miss, Official Wan has come to visit and is waiting in the front hall." Although Wan Xiang and Yi Jioga were very familiar, there was a difference between men and women, so visiting etiquette was still necessary. "Tell him to wait for a moment. I will go down after I change my clothes." Yi Jioga's body was filled with the smell of medicine. Yes. Qing Hu bowed and went down. Yi Jioga changed his clothes and came to the front hall to see Wan Ziang sitting on a chair with a frown. Big brother Wan, is there something troubling you? Yi Jioga curiously asked. This time, I came to tell you something. Wan Ziang brought bad news to Yi Jioga. Chapter 157. When Bai Songling was escorting Yi Jioga, she noticed that many spiritualists who came to participate in the alchemy competition had gone missing. There were more than a dozen of them, and Bai Songling suspected that they were captured by the Bloodlust sect. The Bloodlust sect dares to attack spiritualists so brazenly? How audacious! Yi Jioga frowned. In the past, the Bloodlust sect only dared to capture ordinary people to train. Even if they wanted to deal with spiritualists, they had to do it in secret. Now, they had captured more than a dozen spiritualists. That was insane. Songling has already reported this to the Spiritualist Alliance. They're going to send someone to investigate. Wan Ziang was also shocked by the evil cultivator's generosity. A dozen spiritualists was not a small number. They had to report it to the Spiritualist Alliance. Otherwise, the Spiritualist Alliance might even blame them for hiding the truth. Do you know who they'll send? Yi Jioga was worried that the Spiritualist Alliance would send an arrogant idiot who would drag them down. I'm not sure. Wan Ziang shook his head. His network wasn't strong enough to infiltrate the Spiritualist Alliance. But don't worry, the Thunder Nation is still our territory. The Spiritualist Alliance is mainly here to investigate. We just need to stabilize ourselves. Wan Ziang had been in the Alliance before and knew how slow they were. However, as long as the Spiritualist Alliance decided that the Bloodlust sect was a scourge, they would issue a kill order and all spiritualists would hunt them down. This was the most important thing. Yi Jioga was confident in Wan Ziang's judgment. This is still a secret. Don't tell anyone else in case they panic. Wan Ziang warned. Don't worry, I know the severity. Oh right, where's Yi Yu? Why hasn't he come to find me? Yi Jioga hadn't seen Yi Yu in 3 days. It was strange. Yi Yu found Lu Yunfei outside the city and is looking for her. Wan Ziang said. Tell him to be careful. Yi Jioga told Wan Ziang about the evil cultivator's aura last night. Don't worry, I'll keep an eye on the Crown Prince. Wan Ziang didn't dare to relax. There's no need to keep an eye on him. The Crown Prince is preparing to scram back to Shangjing. Yi Jioga told him about the competition again. Wan Ziang was shocked, but he quickly smiled. I believe that once this news spreads, it will be very difficult to keep the position of the Crown Prince. No one knew better than him how much importance the Emperor placed on this alchemy competition. Not only did the Crown Prince not do his job properly, but he also abused his power to disrupt the competition and made a mess. If the Emperor knew about this, he would definitely be furious. Originally, after the news of Dongfang K's recovery had spread, the ministers had always wanted to change the position of the Crown Prince. Now that the Crown Prince had handed himself over, it was really frighteningly stupid. Logically speaking, the Crown Prince shouldn't be so stupid. Based on Yi Jioga's understanding of the Crown Prince, no matter how much he hated him, he wouldn't joke about the competition. The Crown Prince's recent actions are indeed somewhat abnormal, Wan Ziang thought for a moment, then said hesitantly, could he have also fallen for Su Juanqing's bewitching spell? It's possible, then it's really a dog-biting dog, a mouthful of fur, Yi Jioga said with schadenfreude. Su Juanqing never does useless things, you must not let your guard down. Look after the people around you, in case they are used by him. Although Wan Ziang had never met Su Juanqing face to face, he knew that his bewitching spell was very powerful. When Yi Jioga heard this, his heart jumped, and he hurriedly called Yu Dai in. Is Hua Dai back yet? Not yet. Yu Dai also had an anxious expression. Hua Dai had left early in the morning. No matter how slow she was, she should have returned by now. Big brother Wan, I have a personal servant girl who went out this morning and hasn't returned yet. Can I trouble you to help me look for her? Yi Jioga had a very bad feeling. Okay, I'll send someone to look for her now. Wan Xiang immediately ordered his subordinates to investigate the pastry shop where Hua Dai had bought hawthorn cakes from. Unfortunately, Wan Xiang's subordinates had led the soldiers to the street where the pastry shop was located, but no one had seen Hua Dai. It was very obvious that this little servant girl had gone missing. When Yu Dai heard this news, she immediately burst into tears. She kept muttering that it would have been better if she had stopped Hua Dai from going out. Qing Hu and Qing Lu were also very anxious. Yi Rui's mood was even worse. Her hands were clenched so tightly that they were about to become two fried dough twists. Hua Dai's disappearance made her recall the days in the Black Cellar. The girls who were tortured and killed by the heretic cultivator were all of the same age as Hua Dai. Yi Jioga was the calmest out of all of them. As she comforted Yi Rui's emotions, she ordered Wan Xiang to continue his search. If she's alive, I want to see her. If she's dead, I want to see her corpse. I don't believe that she would disappear in Alchemy City all by herself, Yi Jioga said fiercely. Don't worry, I will definitely get to the bottom of this, Wan Xiang nodded. In the dead of night, the alchemy tower was completely silent. A cold breeze blew past, scattering frost on the floor. Yi Jioga was not in the mood to cultivate. She laid on the bed, tossing and turning, unable to sleep. The news of Hua Dai's disappearance was like a stone pressing on her chest. She had always been searching for the heretic cultivator, but in the end, the heretic cultivator took away her personal servant. To her, this was simply a provocation. At this moment, a strange aura floated in from the window. Yi Jioga opened her eyes and silently sat up. She opened her spiritual eye to look outside the window. She saw a faint purple light coming in from the window. It was a purple scorpion the size of a fist. It was swaggering around the room. Yi Jioga lifted the curtains to take a closer look. She discovered that there was a small golden earring tied to the scorpion's body. It even had the word flower written on it. She immediately knew that this purple scorpion was related to Hua Dai's disappearance. The purple scorpion felt Yi Jioga's gaze. It suddenly raised its tail and shot a faint purple poison needle towards Yi Jioga. Yi Jioga raised her hand to deflect the poison needle. A purple light shrouded the purple scorpion. The purple scorpion saw that the situation was not good. It immediately turned and ran. Its speed was as fast as lightning. Yi Jioga did not have time to think and subconsciously chased after it. After the purple scorpion left the alchemy tower, it made a few turns before arriving at a rocky hill in the outskirts. Then, its figure flashed and it entered the tallest pile of rocks. Yi Jioga stopped in her tracks. She activated her spiritual energy and shot a purple lightning at the pile of rocks. With a boom, the pile of rocks flew in all directions. It revealed a black hole in the ground. The night wind blew past. A thick smell of blood floated in from the hole. Yi Jioga's heart immediately jumped to her throat. She walked step by step to the hole. The white bone flame appeared from her fingers and lit up the hole. She looked carefully. Her eyes instantly widened and she could not help but suck in a breath of cold air. Chapter 158. A skinned female corpse was tossed in the gloomy underground cave. The bloody red flesh was extremely shocking. His cracked eye sockets and dilated pupils were filled with deep resentment, making one shudder in fear. Yi Jioga felt a chill. She endured the nausea and looked at the female corpse's skull. There was a hole at the fontanelle. It was a sign that the spiritual root had been dug out. She was not a flower butterfly with spiritual roots. However, this female corpse was too miserable. Yi Jioga could not recognize who it was. She used her white bone flame to light up the cave. She found that there were more than 10 corpses behind the skinned female corpse. Although they were wearing different clothes, they were all sucked dry of blood. They should be the pill refiners that went missing. Yi Jioga's heart was beating fast. She felt inexplicably uneasy. That purple scorpion was undoubtedly the spiritual pet of the heretic cultivator. What did it want to do by leading her to this cave? Yi Jioga carefully looked at the cave, trying to find the location of the purple scorpion. Suddenly, the sharp sound of a spiritual arrow piercing through the air came from behind her. She immediately turned and formed a seal. The spiritual energy in her body surged, forming a purple barrier, blocking the green spiritual arrow. The green spiritual arrow turned into spiritual energy and disappeared in the air. In the next second, a light green figure landed in front of her. The person was handsome, slender, and had a green 7-leaf clover on his chest, representing his identity in Alchemy City. It was Dongfang Yao's head disciple, Li Zijuan. Li Zijuan, why did you sneak attack me? Yi Jioga asked unkindly. I thought you were a heretic cultivator. Li Zijuan's gaze fell on the cave behind Yi Jioga. His expression changed. He said in disbelief, You killed these people? Of course not. Yi Jioga immediately denied. She was about to explain, but there was a commotion from afar. A group of soldiers holding torches quickly approached them. The one in front was wearing a golden embroidered 5-clawed dragon. It was the crown prince, Dongfang Jianming. Beside him was Yi Shanshan, but there was no trace of Su Junqing. When the crown prince reached the pile of rocks, he immediately ordered the soldiers to surround Yi Jioga. It was as if he was going to capture a large beast. Crown Prince, what is the meaning of this? When Yi Jioga saw the crown prince's formation, he realized that this was a trap set up by him. Otherwise, it would not have been so coincidental. Yi Jioga, I want to ask you what you mean. The crown prince looked at the hole behind Yi Jioga. The blazing torch illuminated the entire pile of rubble, and the situation at the entrance of the underground cave was also clear at a glance. Ah! When Yi Shanshan saw the female corpse in the hole, she immediately covered her mouth and widened her eyes. She was so scared that her face turned pale. Third Miss Gong. The crown prince cried out before viciously looking at Yi Jioga and saying, You deranged woman, you actually dared to act so viciously against Third Miss Gong. How do you know that this female corpse is Third Miss Gong? Yi Jioga raised his eyebrows. I found a letter in Third Miss Gong's room. The letter said that you used the law to restore her qualification and let her come to the pile of rocks alone. I didn't expect you to lead her to death. The crown prince was so distressed that he couldn't even continue to speak. I didn't send a letter to Third Miss Gong. It was because my personal maid, Hua Dai, was kidnapped. A purple scorpion with her earring led me here, which was why I found these corpses. Yi Jioga explained. Yi Jioga, you still dare to quibble at this point? Your maid, Hua Dai, wasn't kidnapped. She escaped on her own and came to us for help. She had long since discovered your true identity as an evil cultivator, but she didn't dare to expose it. Only when she heard that you were going to make a move against Third Miss Gong did she run out. I didn't think that we would still be one step too late. The crown prince had a regretful expression. Wu, big sister Hongyu, you died so miserably. Yi Shanshan covered her mouth and sobbed. Those who didn't know better would think that she had lost her mother. What did you say? Hua Dai is with you? This news was completely out of Yi Jioga's expectations. Young Lady Yi, your personal maid accused you of being an evil cultivator who specialized in sucking human blood to cultivate. Not only did you kidnap contestants from Alchemy City, but you also tried to kill third Miss Gong. Do you have any explanation for this? Li Zijuan asked. Zijuan, the evidence and witnesses are here. What is there to explain? Hurry up and capture this murderous evil cultivator. The Crown Prince was flustered and exasperated. Although this isn't the first or second time your highness has falsely accused me, this time you're even using me as a scapegoat for evil cultivators. I don't know what benefits you've received from them. Yi Jioga narrowed his eyes and spoke with a voice as cold as ice. You said that my personal maid, Hua Dai, accused me of being an evil cultivator. Call her out and confront her. The Crown Prince turned around and commanded, Yi Jioga, you really won't shed a tear until you see your coffin. Someone, bring Hua Dai out. Soon after, 2 soldiers brought a petite girl from the back of the group. She had large eyes and a small round face. It was Hua Dai's appearance. Hua Dai's eyelids drooped and didn't dare to look at Yi Jioga. Hua Dai, don't be afraid. Tell everyone what you said today. The Crown Prince spoke with confidence. Young lady, she's not human. She's a blood-sucking evil cultivator. She killed many people in order to cultivate. She even said that third Miss Gong always went against her and that she had to peel off her skin and dig out her spirit root to appease her hatred. Hua Dai's voice and body trembled uncontrollably. Yi Jioga stared at Hua Dai and spoke word by word, since you have the guts to falsely accuse me, why don't you have the guts to look at me? Young lady, please don't kill me. Hua Dai knelt down with her head touching the floor in fear. If you're really Hua Dai, then I won't kill you. Yi Jioga's eyes turned cold. She didn't believe that the chattering maid would betray her. Unless she was under Su Juanqing's bewitching spell. Or perhaps this wasn't Hua Dai at all, but a fake. Hua Dai, don't be afraid. With me here, Yi Jioga can't touch you. The Crown Prince stepped forward and blocked Hua Dai. He pointed at Yi Jioga and shouted, Yi Jioga, you bloody and cruel evil cultivator. You killed so many people for the sake of cultivating evil techniques. Hurry up and surrender. Your Highness, if I'm really an evil cultivator, can't Master Dongfang tell? Yi Jioga looked at Li Zijuan and said, evil cultivators all have evil energy and can't hide it from people with higher cultivation. Master Dongfang is a spirit master. Do you think I can hide it from him? This. Li Zijuan obviously didn't dare to say that his master was wrong. However, the Crown Prince had Gong Hongyu's will and Yi Jioga's maid as a witness. Yi Jioga was indeed suspicious. At this moment, Yi Shanshan suddenly stood up and said firmly, seniorly, although I can't prove that big sister is the murderer, I can prove that she is indeed cultivating evil techniques. Chapter 159. Li Zijuan probably didn't expect Yi Shanshan to testify against her sister. He was stunned for a moment before asking, what evidence does second Miss Yi have? Senior brother Li, everyone in Shangjing knows that my big sister was seriously ill in the past. Her meridians were all broken and she couldn't cultivate. She was ugly and dull. But some time ago, she suddenly said that she had a fortuitous encounter in the abyss. Not only did her meridians recover, but her cultivation also skyrocketed. In just 3 months, she became a level 2 spirit pill master. Even her appearance became extremely beautiful. Other than cultivating evil arts, I can't think of any other fortuitous encounter that could make her change so much. Yi Shanshan said word by word. It could be seen that she had prepared these words in her mind before saying them. It had to be said that her words were very convincing. Even Li Zijuan felt that it was very plausible. He couldn't help but frown. His gaze fell on Yi Jioga's face. 3 years ago, because he admired Master Yun, he had met Yi Jioga in private. At that time, Yi Jioga was indeed ugly. She was timid and couldn't even speak clearly. But the Yi Jioga in front of him was so beautiful, like a snow lotus blooming in the dark night. Even if she was surrounded and attacked, her limpid eyes were still so firm, revealing a proud and peerless sharpness. She was indeed a different person from before. Second sister's words are indeed reasonable. But if I really was an evil cultivator, the first person I would kill would be you. Although your blood must be unbearably stinky, it's not bad to feed it to the dogs. Yi Jioga's beautiful eyes were as clear as water, but the light that flashed through them was extremely cold, like an abyss that made people's hearts tremble. Yi Shanshan was creeped out by Yi Jioga's gaze and immediately hid behind the crown prince. Yi Jioga, you still don't know how to repent. How dare you threaten Shanshan in front of me? Do you really think that you can cover the sky with one hand? The crown prince immediately stood up. I'm innocent. Why should I repent? The one who wants to cover the sky with one hand is you. Yi Jioga sneered. You. The crown prince was so angry that his face turned red, but he knew that he was no match for Yi Jioga in a verbal battle, so he turned to Li Zijuan and said, Zijuan, both the witness and the material evidence are here. Yi Jioga is the murderer. We must immediately put her in prison, otherwise it will be difficult to explain to the Gong family. Previously, the crown prince was disliked by Dongfang Yao, so he wanted to curry favor with Li Zijuan. Otherwise, he would have already ordered for Yi Jioga to be captured. When Li Zijuan thought of the Gong family, he couldn't help but have a headache. Although Gong Hongyu was only the daughter of a branch family, she was still a member of the Gong family. She came to participate in the Thunder Country's alchemy competition, but in the end, she died a tragic death in Alchemy City. No matter what, Alchemy City couldn't be separated from this matter. They had to give them an explanation. Li Zijuan sighed and said to Yi Jioga, Miss Yi, now that we have the witness and the material evidence, you are the biggest suspect. Please cooperate with the investigation. If you are really innocent, we will definitely give you an explanation. Yi Jioga's thoughts raced. She knew that it was impossible for her to escape from this situation. Since Li Zijuan's attitude was quite good, she might as well give him some face and go with him. She glanced at the shivering Hua Dai hiding behind the soldiers before speaking to Li Zijuan. I can go with you, but Hua Dai cannot be left with the crown prince. Hand her over to Wan Xiang. No. The crown prince immediately objected. Who doesn't know that Wan Xiang has an affair with you? How can Hua Dai be left alive in his hands? Yi Jioga narrowed her eyes at the crown prince before slowly speaking to Li Zijuan. The events of the alchemy competition are still fresh in our minds. You should be well aware of the crown prince's character. I don't trust someone like him to investigate the heretical cultivators. Who knows if he has an affair with them or not? Bullshit. How could I have anything to do with heretical cultivators? Don't slander me. The crown prince almost jumped out of his seat. Li Zijuan recalled the crown prince's manipulation of the alchemy competition and felt that he was an unreliable person, so he said, This matter happened in Alchemy City, so I have the responsibility to thoroughly investigate this matter. I will personally send someone to watch over Hua Dai. Zijuan. The crown prince shouted, but after seeing Li Zijuan's determined expression, he could only shut his mouth. Then you have to keep an eye on Hua Dai. Otherwise, after she is killed, they will blame it on me. Yi Jioga glanced at the crown prince with a clear hint of meaning. Of course. Li Zijuan nodded. He had his people watch over Hua Dai before speaking to Yi Jioga. Let's go. What about the corpses? Yi Jioga didn't move. I will send someone to deal with them later. Li Zijuan's expression was calm. It was clear that he wasn't going to do this himself. Yi Jioga frowned. These corpses were killed by a heretical cultivator, so there must be many clues left on them. It would be inappropriate to deal with them rashly. I suggest that you find a professional coroner or spirit doctor to take a look. You're right. Li Zijuan had a whole new level of respect for Yi Jioge. A normal person would be confused in her situation, but her thoughts were clear. She didn't seem like a murderer at all. Humph, hypocrite. The crown prince laughed disdainfully and said to Li Zijuan, Zijuan, don't be bewitched by this witch. Heretical cultivators are best at bewitching people. She said all this to deceive you. In my opinion, we should quickly take care of third Miss Gong's corpse, so that the Gong family won't be disappointed. Yes, the dead are already dead. We should not mess with their corpses anymore. Yi Shanshan said sorrowfully. Li Zijuan suddenly hesitated. At this moment, another group of people came from the darkness. It was Wan Xiang who had received the news and rushed over. When he saw Yi Jioge surrounded by the crown prince, he immediately asked unkindly, "What is going on?" Yi Jioge cultivates heretical arts. She killed people and drank their blood. The evidence is conclusive. We are going to take her to the prison for interrogation. The crown prince spoke first. That's impossible. Wan Xiang firmly denied. Anyone can be a heretical cultivator, but not Yi Jioge. How do you know it's impossible? Are you the real murderer? The crown prince's attitude was aggressive. Just as Wan Xiang was about to argue, he was interrupted by Yi Jioge. Big brother Wan, His Highness the Crown Prince is determined to falsely accuse me. No matter what you say to him, it's useless. It's better to quickly find evidence to prove my innocence. Gong Hongyu's will and Hua Dai's testimony were very unfavorable to her, not to mention Yi Shanshan's interference. In this situation, only by finding the real murderer could she prove her innocence. Wan Xiang immediately calmed down and his eyes quickly became clear. Seeing that he had calmed down, Yi Jioge said seriously, "Brother Wan, there is something wrong with the corpse in the cave." Chapter 160. There's something strange about the corpse at the cave entrance. As Yi Jioge spoke, his gaze drifted toward the crown princess. There was a meaningful look on his face. She said this to trick the crown prince to see how he would react. As expected, the crown prince's eyes flickered. Previously, when Su Junqing told him that he wanted to use Gong Hongyu to deal with Yi Jioge, he did not know that this matter was related to the evil cultivator. To be honest, he was also scared when he saw so many corpses at the entrance of the cave. But now that he was riding a tiger, it was hard to get off. He could only brace himself to the end and kill Yi Jioge first. In any case, he wouldn't let Wan Xiang and the others off. It didn't matter even if they discovered something. The crown prince calmed himself down and said to Li Zijuan, "Zijuan, leave the corpses to Lord Wan to deal with. We should hurry up and bring Yi Jioge back in case something goes wrong again." Li Zijuan couldn't help but look at Yi Jioge. Yi Jioge calmly said, "I still have 2 things to tell Brother Wan. I'll leave after that." "No." The crown prince strongly objected. "All right." Li Zijuan nodded in agreement. "Speak." Wan Xiang walked to Yi Jioge's side. "The first thing." Yi Jioge told her the reason why he appeared at the pile of rocks tonight, and used the purple scorpion to vaguely mention the butterfly's abnormality. The second thing. She hoped that Wan Xiang could send someone to protect Yi Rui and Yu Dai. The crown prince and the heretic cultivators of the bloodthirsty sect had set up this trap to drag her into it. She was afraid that the people around her would be killed. "I've already sent people to the Flying Frost Pavilion." The moment Wan Xiang found out that something had happened to Yi Jioge, he immediately sent his elite troops to protect Yi Rui and the others. "Thank you." Yi Jioge heaved a sigh of relief. He knew that Wan Xiang was reliable. Who would have thought that Wan Xiang would reveal a look of hesitation? Yi Jioge's heart immediately jumped and he quickly asked, "What's wrong? Did something happen?" "It's not a big deal. It's just that your medicine tester has disappeared. I've sent people to look for him, but they couldn't find any trace of him. Although Wan Xiang felt that the tester was not that important, he still had to mention it. So be it, Yi Jiuge said disapprovingly. In any case, she had only saved the tester out of morality. Humph, I don't think it's gone, but you ate it. The Crown Prince said maliciously, at that time, I was wondering why you would be so kind as to use the elixir to save someone. So it was to use him for cultivation. Your Highness the Crown Prince, please be careful with your words before finding out the truth. Otherwise, it would be bad if the Emperor heard about it. Wan Xiang looked at the Crown Prince with a sharp gaze. Wan Xiang, are you threatening me? The Crown Prince raged. I'm just speaking the truth. Wan Xiang had never put the Crown Prince in his eyes before, and now he wouldn't be polite to him. Wan Xiang, how dare you insult the imperial family? Do you really think that I don't dare to punish you? The Crown Prince's face was red with anger. He was about to order the arrest of Wan Xiang, but was stopped by Li Zijuan. Your Highness, please calm down. The most important thing now is to investigate the case of the evil cultivator. Li Zijuan's words were meant to smooth things over, but in the Crown Prince's ears, it was as if his face was nothing. Yi Jiuge coldly added, Big Brother Wan, Senior Brother Li is right. The most important thing now is to investigate the evil cultivator. If a mad dog wants to bark, let it be. The Crown Prince's expression was frighteningly gloomy. He clenched his fists so tightly that his nails pierced into his flesh. When he sits on the throne, he will definitely make these damned fellows look good. Li Zijuan didn't notice the Crown Prince's abnormality. He helplessly said to Yi Jiuge, Miss Yi, since you finished explaining, let's go. Okay. Yi Jiuge cooperated and left with Li Zijuan. Wan Xiang stood in place and silently watched Yi Jiuge leave. He saw her slender figure surrounded by a group of soldiers. It was very eye-catching, revealing a feeling of desolation. Yi Jiuge was so strong, nothing would happen to her. Wan Xiang took a deep breath and quickly calmed his mind. He took his people to the entrance of the cave. He looked through the pile of rocks, but unfortunately, he didn't find the purple scorpion that Yi Jiuge mentioned. But this was also within his expectations, so he wasn't discouraged. He continued to look through the corpses in the cave. These spirit practitioners' corpses had all been dug out. But apart from Gong Hongyu, who had been skinned, the other corpses had all their cultivation blood sucked dry. Gong Hongyu's corpse was very fresh. The wall beside her had spots of bright red blood, as if it had been splashed not too long ago. These spots of blood were very orderly, and it seemed that the deceased didn't have any signs of struggle. Wan Xiang deduced that Gong Hongyu was very likely killed elsewhere before being brought here to be skinned. As for the corpses that had their cultivation blood sucked dry, the stiffness of their muscles was different, and the time of death was also different. Wan Xiang carefully searched for a long time. Finally, he found a thin layer of red clay on the soles of these corpses. Gong Hongyu's soles also had it, which meant that they had been to the same place. As long as he found the source of this red clay, he would be able to find the place where they died. In order to confirm his guess, Wan Xiang decided to go out of the city and investigate. But before he left the city, he wrote all the information he found on a letter and gave it to Li Zijuan, asking him to pass it to Yi Jiuge. At this time, Yi Jiuge was locked up in the Judan Pavilion at the very end of Alchemy City. Although the Crown Prince strongly requested that Yi Jiuge be locked up in the prison, Li Zijuan, after consulting his master, placed Yi Jiuge under house arrest in his master's private territory. The Crown Prince was very angry about this and kept shouting that he would find Dongfang Yao to clarify things. Unfortunately, ever since Dongfang Yao drove the Crown Prince back to Shangjing in front of everyone, he had never seen him. Now, he used his old headache as an excuse to refuse to see anyone. The crown prince wanted to clear his name, but he didn't have the chance. He could only pester Li Zijuan every day, asking him to deal with Yi Jioge impartially as soon as possible. Li Zijuan was about to vomit blood from the crown prince's pestering. Recently, a series of bad events had happened in Alchemy City. Even the competition had to be suspended. Logically speaking, his master should have come out to take charge. But the old man despised his eldest disciple for only focusing on alchemy and turning himself stupid. He used the excuse that he needed to train Li Zijuan and pushed everything to him. Li Zijuan simply used a chicken feather as an arrow and used his master's mouth to forbid anyone from visiting Yi Jioge. Whether it was the crown prince, Yi Shanshan, Yi Rui, or Wan Xiang, they all refused. Wan Xiang had to spend quite a bit of effort before Li Zijuan agreed to help him pass the letter. Chapter 161. When Wan Xiang's letter was delivered, Yi Jioge was staring at the purple mark on his hand. Zi Shang had been in a deep sleep ever since he ate the shape-shifting bead. He hadn't moved at all, so Yi Jioge didn't know when he would appear. Without a demon snake by his side to ridicule, these days were really unbearably lonely. Yi Jioge sighed, touched the smooth mark, and then began to read the letter sent by Wan Xiang. Just as Wan Xiang was about to leave the city to search for the red clay mark, a thunderous voice came from outside. Yi Jioge, get out here. Yi Jioge was shocked, and the letter in his hand fell to the ground. Jiudan Pavilion was Dongfang Yao's private territory, and outsiders were forbidden from entering. Even the servants who delivered food were mute. Why did such a loud voice suddenly appear? Yi Jioge listened carefully, and realized that after the loud voice finished shouting, there was a loud voice. Li Zijuan's warning and the crown prince's sowing discord sounded at the same time. Brother Honglei, calm down. Before we find out the truth, we can't be sure that Yi Jioge is the murderer. Brother Honglei, you read 3rd Miss Gong's will. There's no one else besides Yi Jioge. Yi Jioge, get out here. The person's voice was even more violent, and he was getting closer and closer to Yi Jioge's house. Yi Jioge calmly put away Wan Xiang's letter, tidied up his appearance, and opened the door to take a look. There was a group of people standing at the end of the path. At the front was a violent-looking youth with a long sword on his back, and he was charging towards her aggressively. The crown prince was on his left, and he looked as if his plan had succeeded. Li Zijuan was on his right, and he was still trying to persuade the youth. Brother Honglei, calm down. The youth rushed in front of Yi Jioge like a whirlwind, and sized Yi Jioge up with his large eyes. He asked fiercely, "You're Hong Yu's murderer? Senior Li, who is he? Why is he slandering me the moment he rushed in?" Yi Jioge glanced at the youth, and looked at Li Zijuan. This is Gong Honglei, the emissary from the Spiritualist Alliance. He's also 3rd Miss Gong's brother. Li Zijuan sighed, and looked at Yi Jioge with worry. Master's banner could stop the crown prince, but it couldn't stop the Alliance's emissary who wanted to avenge his sister. Humph, Yi Jioge snorted coldly. Her beautiful eyes flickered with a sharp light as she looked Gong Honglei up and down rudely and said disdainfully, "It seems that the emissary of the Spiritualist Alliance is only so. What do you mean?" Gong Honglei's eyes widened. He looked like he was going to draw his sword at any moment. The Alliance sent you to investigate the evil cultivator murder, but you abused your power to punish me. Is this how the Spiritualist Alliance does things? Yi Jioge's voice wasn't loud, but it was filled with pressure. It made Gong Honglei speechless. Seeing that the situation was bad, the crown prince immediately jumped out and said, "Yi Jioge, you killed someone else's little sister and still dare to say such words. You're going too far." The crown prince looked at Gong Honglei and said, "Brother Honglei, this is a crazy evil cultivator. You'd better kill her quickly to avenge your sister." Dongfang Jianming, you keep saying that I killed Gong Hongyu. Did you see me kill her with your own eyes? Or did you see me suck human blood to practice evil arts? Yi Jiuge interrupted the crown prince's words and shouted, "Don't use the suicide note to talk to that girl, Hua Dai. The suicide note can be forged and Hua Dai can be bribed. Unless you can show other evidence, shut up. Yi Jiuge, this evidence is enough. It's useless for you to quibble. There's no one else but you." The crown prince insisted. "I haven't gone out since I came to Alchemy City from Shangjing. May I ask where I got the time to kidnap people and kill people?" Yi Jiuge was not afraid of the crown prince at all. "You don't have time, but your accomplices do. Bai Songling has been loitering outside Alchemy City. Wan Xiang has also left the city. Maybe he's preparing to escape because his plan has been exposed." A cold light flashed in the crown prince's eyes. He wanted to catch Wan Xiang and Bai Songling in one fell swoop. "According to what you're saying, pharmacist Dongfang and senior brotherly placed me here are also evil cultivators?" Yi Jiuge raised his eyebrows and looked at Gong Honglei. "The crown prince has been bewitched. Other than him, the others are evil cultivators. I advise you to find more people from the alliance to catch them. You're twisting words and forcing logic." The crown prince raised his voice. Before Yi Jiuge could reply, Gong Honglei had already shouted, "All of you, shut up." He was dizzy from the noise. The thought of rushing in to kill Yi Jiuge to avenge his sister had inexplicably disappeared. Gong Honglei was sent by the alliance as an emissary. Naturally, he wasn't an incompetent person. It was just that he was too excited after seeing his sister's tragic death that he was provoked by the crown prince. After calming down, he said to Li Zijuan in a serious tone, "No matter what, Yi Jiuge is a suspect and should be locked up in prison. Isn't it against the rules to lock her up here? Yi Jiuge might be a suspect, but she's also a contestant. Without concrete evidence, it's not good to lock her up in prison. In the end, she's still a weak girl." Li Zijuan really couldn't bear to lock the flower like Yi Jiuge up in a cold and damp prison. So what if she's a girl? A suspect should be locked up in prison. Gong Honglei only had one thing to say. He didn't need to kill Yi Jiuge right now, but he couldn't let a suspect lie comfortably in the courtyard. Yi Jiuge is a weak girl. Zijuan, you must be blind. The crown prince had been tricked by Yi Jiuge so many times. He had never seen a woman more valiant than her. Emissary Gong is right. If that's the case, then lock me up in prison. Yi Jiuge calmly said. It didn't matter where she was locked up anyways. There was no need to make things difficult for Li Zijuan over such a small matter. Fine. Li Zijuan apologetically glanced at Yi Jiuge. In the end, under the supervision of Gong Honglei and the Crown Prince, Yi Jiuge was brought to Alchemy City's prison. There weren't many people in Alchemy City's prison. Most of them were thieves who stole medicinal plants, so the prison wasn't very gloomy. Li Zijuan had already ordered people to clean up the single cell. Not only was it covered in the best silk mattress, but there was even a bright pink plate of Yi Lai Xiang in the corner. Gong Honglei and the Crown Prince were a bit dissatisfied with the prison's environment, but they didn't make a fuss about it. They only said that they were worried about the prison's defenses. In order to prevent Yi Jiuge from escaping, they sent their own guards. Li Zijuan couldn't argue with them, so he could only agree in the end. Chapter 162. In the dead of night, the prison was pitch black. Only a few oil lamps covered in dust flickered dimly on the walls. Yi Jiuge was curled up in the small cell. Her eyes were tightly shut, and her long eyelashes hung down like a row of thick fans. Her breathing was very steady, as if she had already entered the land of dreams. The bright pink tuberose in the corner was quietly blooming, emitting a rich fragrance. The prison was quiet. The guards on duty were clearly separated from the people sent by the crown prince. They were leaning against the wall and napping. Suddenly, a light blue smoke floated in through the crack of the door and quickly spread in all directions. The guard who was napping went limp and fell to the ground. The others also fell to the ground like dumplings. The iron door of the prison creaked open. 5 black-clothed people nimbly entered the prison. After taking the key from the guard, they went straight to the small cell Yi Jiuge was in. Just as they were about to open the door of the small cell, a cold voice suddenly sounded. "Who goes there?" The leader of the black-clothed people took a step back and signaled for his subordinates to light a torch. A bright light sprang up, illuminating the entire small cell. They saw Yi Jiuge, who was supposed to be sleeping, standing in the corner. Dressed in green, she was slender and elegant. Her appearance was stunning and incomparably elegant. Her limpid eyes were so clear that it seemed as if she had never slept. "Miss Yi, we were sent by Lord Wan and Lord Bai to save you. The Crown Prince wants to kill you. Please come with us," the leader of the black-clothed people said as he tried to open the large lock of the cell. He didn't expect a purple light with lightning to fall on the large lock. If the black-clothed people hadn't withdrawn their hands quickly, they would have been struck by this lightning. "Miss, what do you mean by this?" The black-clothed people looked up at Yi Jiuge. Their low voice was filled with anxiety and disbelief. Yi Jiuge hid the purple light in her hands and said to the black-clothed people with a smile that wasn't a smile, "Go back and tell Lord Wan and Lord Bai that I won't leave the prison before this matter is clearly investigated. You'll die if you don't leave." The black-clothed man spoke hurriedly, as if in the next moment, the crown prince would rush in and drag Yi Jiuge out for interrogation. Yi Jiuge said slowly, "Dongfang Jianming doesn't dare to kill me because he wants to keep me as a shield so that the real evil cultivator can kill more spiritualists to practice. So, you can go back without worry and let Sir Wan and Sir Bai investigate the crown prince, Su Junqing, and the evil cultivator of the bloodthirsty sect." If Yi Jiuge really believed that this group of men in black was sent by Wan Xiang, then he would really be as stupid as Dongfang Jianming. The leader frowned when he heard Yi Jiuge's words, but he quickly recovered and said anxiously, "Eldest lady, I don't know anything about the crown prince or the evil cultivator. I only know that Lord Wan and Lord Bai asked me to save you, so I have to take you away." Yi Jiuge's fingers caressed the pink petals of the fragrant night lily. Her face was even more beautiful than a blooming flower, but the words that came out of her cherry lips were extremely rude. "What if I say no? Then I will have to offend you." The leader's eyes flashed with a cold light. He cut the iron chain with a knife, kicked the door open, and rushed in. Yi Jiuge raised her finger slightly, and her fingertips lit up with purple spiritual power. She was about to flick out the lightning spiritual power and the sleeping powder. Unexpectedly, the man in black at the back suddenly raised his knife and very neatly put down all his companions. Internal strife, interesting. Yi Jiuge held back her spiritual power, and her beautiful eyes fell on the man in black, wanting to see what he was doing. The man in black pulled off his mask, revealing a dark and handsome face with a bit of wild nature. A pair of eyes flashed with a sharp light like a wolf. It turned out to be the medicine tester who disappeared. "You are also the crown prince's man?" Yi Jiuge raised her eyebrows and said with a little admiration, "Then you are really ruthless." One had to know that the medicine tester's heart meridian was really broken, and he was seriously injured and could die at any moment. "No, I don't know any crown prince." The medicine tester's voice was a little hoarse, but it was surprisingly pleasant to hear. However, his accent was definitely not from the Thunder Country, but rather from the southern frontier. "Then why did you come find me, to repay a debt of gratitude?" If that was the case, then this guy was quite loyal. This group of men in black was definitely sent by the crown prince. To be able to sneak in meant that he had some skill. No. The medicine tester shook his head honestly. This slap in the face was a little painful. Yi Jioga was a little unhappy, and her expression slightly darkened. If you are not here to repay a debt of gratitude, then let's calculate the medical fees. Grandmaster Dongfang's third-level heart-nourishing pill is worth 10,000 gold, and my medical fee is also 10,000 gold. Hand over the money. I have no money. The medicine tester continued to shake his head. Then what are you here for? Yi Jioga narrowed her eyes and looked at the medicine tester's strong body. If this guy dared to tease her, then she would make him pay with his body. My master wants to discuss a business deal with you. The medicine tester solemnly said. Who is your master? Yi Jioga couldn't help but raise an eyebrow. The current situation in Alchemy City was so chaotic, yet there were still people who didn't fear death and dared to come in. She really wanted to get to know them. He said that you will understand once you see this. The medicine tester raised his hand and opened his palm. With a wave of his sleeve, a blood-red, winged poisonous earth dragon parasite with a mouth full of sharp teeth scuttled out. Its long body coiled in the medicine tester's palm, and its small eyes stared unkindly at Yi Jioga. This poisonous earth dragon parasite seemed to be of a higher level than the one Yi Yu had before. Not only was its body blood red, but even its eyes had grown out. Although those black beady eyes were small, they were incomparably fierce. One could imagine how ferocious it was. Yi Jioga couldn't think of anyone else who could raise such a ferocious insect. I thought he was an orphan. Yi Jioga's words were both a sigh and a test. I was separated from the young master when I escaped. I have been looking for him all these years. The medicine tester paused here before continuing. Not only did you save me, but you also helped the young master greatly. Thus, the young master wants to discuss a business deal with you. The medicine tester's attitude was very serious. In his heart, the way to repay his benefactor was to bring her to his young master to discuss a business deal. If anyone else dared to use this method to repay a favor, Yi Jioga would definitely teach them a lesson. But after seeing the little mute's unsociable nature, she decided to forgive this honest medicine tester. If you want me to go with you, that's fine. But first, you have to answer a few questions. Where did the two of you escape from? Who is chasing you? Why doesn't he speak? Also, where did he learn the art of insect refinement? These questions had piled up in Yi Jioga's heart for a long time. Now that he could say it all in one breath, it was indescribably refreshing. Chapter 163. Can we talk about this after we get out? The medicine tester asked sincerely. Sure. With these answers, Yi Jioga decided to go with him. Although the crown prince would definitely blame the crime of absconding to avoid punishment on her, it did not matter. She couldn't catch Lu Yunfei by staying in this broken prison, so she might as well go out and talk to the little mute. Maybe she could get some unexpected clues. What do you plan to do with these people? The medicine tester kicked the man in black on the ground. These people are just small fries, just throw them here. Yi Jioga walked out of the small prison and asked the medicine tester, I still don't know your name? Luo Tian. While talking to Yi Jioga, Luo Tian didn't forget to observe the surroundings and quickly brought Yi Jioga out of the prison. The two of them walked along the dark walls to avoid the patrolling guards and finally left Alchemy City. Where are we going next? Yi Jioga looked at the gloomy mountain range. Alchemy City was located in front of two mountain peaks. No matter which direction they went, it was a deep forest. Follow me. Luo Tian walked towards the dense forest in the east. Yi Jioga followed closely behind him and asked in a casual manner, Luo Tian, how did you get into the group of men in black? These men in black were very experienced and seemed to be very experienced. It was impossible that they couldn't recognize their own people. It's a secret. Luo Tian obviously didn't want to answer this question. Then let's talk about the consultation fee. Yi Jiuge revealed a hee-hee expression. He was too inexperienced to fight with her. Luo Tian's footsteps stiffened, but he quickly moved again. His hoarse voice revealed a trace of helplessness. I used my natal goo to control them to get in. Natal goo? Are you from the blood-clothed Miao tribe? Yi Jiuge looked at Luo Tian in shock. Ever since she met the little mute, she had specially looked up information about raising goo. The best at raising goo was the blood-clothed Miao tribe in the southern border. When each blood-clothed Miao tribe member was born, their parents would choose suitable goo to help them raise. They would use their blood to raise it every day. When the child grew up, they would let them refine the goo into their natal goo. The stronger the natal goo, the stronger the ability of the goo breeder. Some of the more powerful blood-clothed Miao clansmen would even collect different goo worms to raise their natal goo. The natal goo and its master shared the same life. Some natal goo with strong vitality could even strengthen the master's life. Luo Tian nodded. He went around a bush and ran deeper into the forest. Yi Jiuge turned around and continued to ask, then why didn't I see your natal goo when I treated you? My vital goo exhausted all of its power to save me, so it went into hiding to recuperate. Although Luo Tian was reluctant, he still answered. After all, it was thanks to Yi Jiuge that his vital goo could recover. So that's how it is. No wonder you were able to survive despite having your heart meridian severed. Yi Jiuge didn't ask where Luo Tian's natal goo was hidden. For a goo breeder, the hiding place of the natal goo was his life gate. Asking about it was tantamount to hunting him down. Luo Tian was originally worried that Yi Jiuge would continue to ask. Seeing that she had given up, he was relieved. He was not an ungrateful person. He had always remembered Yi Jiuge's life-saving grace in his heart. However, to him now, Little Mistress was the most important. No matter what kind of grudge or love, it had to be ranked behind Little Mistress. You blood-clothed Miao clansmen should be very powerful. How could you be hunted down like this? Didn't your clansmen avenge you? Yi Jiuge asked curiously. One must know that the blood-clothed Miao clansmen had strange goo techniques. In addition, they had always been protective and vengeful. No one dared to provoke them. Luo Tian was silent for a long time. Then, he said in a deep voice, my clansmen are all dead. Only Little Mistress and I escaped. Yi Jiuge was shocked. She couldn't help but ask, who could kill all of your clansmen? Before Luo Tian could answer, a sharp and ethereal child's voice filled with ruthlessness suddenly sounded in the dark forest. Luo Tian, don't tell her. Master. Luo Tian immediately stopped. Yi Jiuge, on the other hand, raised his head and looked at a pine tree that was so thick that 3 people could wrap their arms around it. Although it was pitch black there, her intuition told her that little mute was there. Sure enough, in the next moment, a thin and small black figure floated down from the top of the tree like a falling leaf. It landed in front of Yi Jiuge. Blue cotton clothes, dirty sleeves, messy hair, pale little face, big black eyes, and as usual, terrifying as ever. So you can speak. Then why did you pretend to be mute? Even if he wanted to hide his identity, he didn't have to choose such a difficult method. Because humans are too stupid. A proud child's voice sounded. It was obviously Little Mute's reply to Yi Jiuge's question. But Yi Jiuge looked over. He found that Little Mute, who was supposed to speak, had his mouth tightly shut. His big black eyes were expressionless. That tender little voice sounded like it came from a ghost. To be honest, in this dark forest filled with shadows of trees, this scene was indescribably strange. Those who were timid would die. Little Master's throat can't make sounds. He can only speak through his natal gu. Luo Tian explained. You should feel honored to be able to hear my voice. Such an arrogant voice, coupled with Little Mute's expressionless face, was indescribably strange. Sure enough, Little Mute was right not to speak. Yi Jioga couldn't help but complain. Little Master, this is not the place to talk. Why don't we change places? Luo Tian sincerely suggested. Although they didn't speak loudly, the forest was too quiet. If someone was eavesdropping, it would be hard for them to find out. Okay, follow me. Little Mute turned around and leaped a few times. He brought Yi Jioga to a remote small cave. There were burnt ashes and leftover beast bones in the depths of the cave. It seemed to be Little Mute's temporary residence. After Yi Jioga stood still, he directly asked, Luo Tian said you have a deal to discuss with me? That's right. The proud child's voice sounded again. I will help you deal with the people from Bloodthirsty Sect. 1 life in exchange for 100 bottles of spirit beast pills. That's a good plan of yours. Yi Jioga raised his eyebrows and smiled. Bloodthirsty Sect is also your enemy. You're taking revenge for yourself and you want to settle the score with me? Do you really think I'm a fool? How do you know Bloodthirsty Sect is our enemy? The proud child's voice was both surprised and angry. Then, he roared at Luo Tian irritably, You told her? I didn't, Luo Tian said helplessly. She tricked you. That's right, Yi Jioga was tricking him. You're tuning into the Xiaofan's Wuxia Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.